So what is Microsoft Project? Well, Microsoft Project is project management software that is designed to assist you in managing your project. Your job is to give the program all the details of your project. All the details of your project, like the tasks that you need to complete, the duration of those tasks, the resources that you'll use to complete the tasks, and all the resources that you'll use to complete the tasks. We'll also provide it with any constraints related to a task. And by providing Project with all the details of your project and updating it on a regular basis, Project kind of lets you see into the future. It lets you see down the road at what's going to happen with your plan. You can see here it's predicting a finish date. So if all of my tasks start and finish on time, my projected finish date for the entire project is June 26th. Now, if I have tasks that run late or finish early, this date can change. And other tasks can begin late or start early, depending on what's happening. Project lets me see it, but only if I go in and update the plan. Not only can I see the finish date, but I can also see cost-related information. So if I head up and take a look at cost-related information, my total cost, I can see my baseline, my variance, my actuals, and my remaining dollars. Again, as I complete tasks and mark those tasks complete, the values are calculated. And I'll know actually what I've spent. So it is designed to assist you. You give it the information, it allows us to view the information in a variety of ways. And that's what we're going to show you in these lessons. The varieties of ways that you can view the information, provide the information, and let Project assist you. So let's get started. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. One of the nice things that we have about the Project 2013 environment is the consistency. Yes, when we look at it, it looks like the other Office products. So Word and Excel and PowerPoint, we have the ribbon interface across the top. So that gives us a little bit of comfort when we move into Project. When we look at the tab names, Task and Resource and Report, they have good names. So the Task tab, when we need to work with our tasks, is a great place to look. And we can go into our clipboard and our font, schedule, tasks, insert, properties, and editing. So find a tab that sounds like it holds what you need to do and look in there. For the Resource tab, when we need to work with our resources, this is a great place to look. The assignments and the insert, the properties, and the leveling. Need to run a report? How about the Report tab? Yes, this is where we'll find all the different ways we can build reports. Need something related to the entire project? We can head into the project properties, the project schedule, even the status. For the View tab, oh, you'll be spending a lot of time in here. The View tab is where we adjust our view. So when we need to change to different views to find out information about our plan, the View tab helps us out. We've got different task views and resource views, data views, zoom options. Find the tab that sounds like it holds what you need. If you've got Acrobat installed, you'll have an Acrobat tab. And then out on the end, we have our Contextual tab. Now this tab will change. Right now we happen to be in Gantt Chart View, so we get the Gantt Chart Tools Format tab. When you move into different views, this tab will update to give you tools related to the view that you're in. So always keep an eye on it. And then the last tab, which happens to be the first tab, is the File tab. And the File tab takes us into Backstage View, where we find ways that we can create new files and open existing files, save our files, print our files. It's all found back here, even the option to close. Little circle at the top will take us back into project. We've got our quick access toolbar across the top that gives us quick and easy access to things like save and undo and redo. And then as we move into the window, depending on the view that you're in, right now we are in Gantt chart view, you can see it down the left, we get an entry table and a Gantt chart. As you move into different views, the table on the left may change, the chart on the right may also change. There is a divide line between the two of them, and you can drag the divide line to adjust how much is chart, how much is table. We have scroll bars across the bottom that allow us to scroll back and forth on both sides. Hey, look at that. And back to the left. We also have the zoom in the bottom right-hand corner, which is pretty handy if you'd like to zoom in or out on your chart to see more or less of it. And we've got a couple of quick view changers down here at the bottom that will also help you change your view. These are also found on the View tab. So although the window has a lot going on, keep in mind, find a tab that sounds like it holds what you need. And then look, if I'm interested in scrolling the Gantt to a particular task, I pick the task tab, maybe, right? What would I like to do? Change its font? No. Schedule it? No. Actually, work with the task? No, I just want to scroll quickly. If I continue out, insert, no, properties, no. Hey, in the editing group, look at this big button, scroll to task. So when I give it a click, it does just that, scrolls the Gantt into view. That's a nice one to know about, and it's found on the task tab. So always find a tab that sounds like it holds what you need. Look at the group names. It's quicker to navigate by using the group names. And then find the tool that you need and give it a click. The environment is so similar to the other Office products, the consistency makes it easier. So the ribbon isn't new to us. This part of the window, kind of new to us. But you'll see as you continue to work in project and you flip from view to view to view, there's consistency as well. Tables on the left, charts on the right. Let me click back on my start and scroll to task. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. One of the best ways to think about Microsoft Project is to think about it as a giant container for all your information related to your project plan. If you take all the details of your project plan and pour it into this container, we can then shake it up, not really, but we can put it all in, and then we can use views to reach in and pull the information out in different ways. So we can really look at our plan from every angle. The views are what are terrific, but they don't do anything if you don't give project all the details. So remember, big container, pour all the details in. Then the views are really useful. And I always say, it kind of gives us a way that we can see the future. What? Because again, if you put in all the details, project lays it out and it lets us see down the road. I mean, right here in this view, we are in Gantt chart view. And in Gantt chart view, we can see if we start this plan on May 1st, we're going to finish it on the 24th. This is Gantt chart view. We have the entry table on the left that shows us all the different tasks, the duration, when they're going to start, when they're going to finish. And if all things happen the right way, this is what will happen. Down the road, we can see in June we'll have the spell check and the grammar check and the proofread happening on June 16th and 17th. But if we have a task or two that go way off track and they push everybody back, again, we can kind of see into the future and see that this task will be pushed back. But it only works if you provide project with all the details. So you have to build the plan, put in all the details, you have to come back on a regular basis and update the plan. Now again, in Gantt chart view, we also have the Gantt chart out on the right side. It allows us to see where the tasks fall on the timeline and who's completing them. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, we do have a zoom slider that allows us to zoom in further. If I use the plus mark, I can zoom in further, or I can use the minus and zoom back out. My arrows let me scroll side to side. This is just one view of many. The views are all found on the View tab. What a great place to put them. On the View tab, we have different task views and different resource views. So as far as the task views go, what about task usage? This is a nice view because it lets us see all the different tasks and who we're using to complete them. So the project manager does this one. Project manager does this one. If I look down further, writer 1 does this one. So it's the task and who we're using to complete it, as well as the work, the duration, the start, the finish. And out here in the table view, we see the days and we see exactly how much time they're going to be putting in on each day. Task usage view. The task and who we're using. How about the opposite side of that? What about like a resource usage? How about a list of resources and the tasks we're using them on? Project manager is doing all of these tasks. And this is the work they'll be putting in. And this is when it's happening. There's the dates. Resource and the tasks they're being used for. So that's why I say if it's a big container and we pour all the details in, we're just reaching in and saying, show it to me one way, show it to me another way. How about the team planner view? I like the team planner view. Team planner view lets me see our team, the resources, and then on the timeline, the tasks fall by name. And if we point to anything in project, we get huge screen tips that pop up and give us lots of details. Another big view that you'll be using, resource sheet. The resource sheet is a view where we list all the resources and their rates, as well as details about every single resource that we'll use to complete the tasks in our project. These are just a few. Yeah, there are more. If we head into other views, you'll see there are others listed here, and then more views. The more views, wow, lots of views. So if we like one of them, we can pick them, click apply. Let me click on one of the tasks, and this you'll find will happen with your tasks. Sometimes there's no information. If you click on a task and head to the task tab, all the way out on the right end in the editing group is scroll to task. And what that does is it takes me from looking at March. When I scroll to task, it takes me to the time frame of when the task is occurring. So that's a nice little button to know about as well. Scroll to task. And this is the tracking Gantt. So it shows me the task and the duration, and it compares the plan to when it actually occurred. So many views. So many different ways to look at the information stored in project. But if you don't put it in, the views are meaningless. Put in all the details, update it regularly, and use the different views to show you your plan. Let it help you. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. The timeline view is new for Project 2013, and it's kind of a cool view. So if we head on up to the View tab where we change all views, out in the Split View group, we've got Timeline. When I check Timeline, it'll expand and open a pane, which is adjustable. I can stretch and make it taller, or squish it and make it smaller, and I can put tasks on the timeline. So if I have something that is of interest, of importance, I can add it onto the timeline. So if I take a look down my list, maybe for me, this approve editing update's really important. I'd like to put it on the timeline. I give it a right click and I add to timeline, and it pops in. Now again, we can't see much here. It's small, but it does show up on the timeline to let us know if we're looking at this time frame. Maybe that's the next big thing we have to worry about. The timeline itself is customizable, so if I select any of the tasks, I can point to them, of course, get a big screen tip that tells me all about them, but when I click on them, I do get the Format tab. So I can decide how I'd like to see the information. Right now it's displayed as a bar. How about display it as a call-out? Oh, I kind of like that. Let me click on this one. Display it as a call-out. Oh yeah, that might be good. All right, we can also remove them from the timeline very easily by choosing that option. That'll take them away. If you have a number of tasks that you'd like to put on the timeline, how about existing tasks? This brings out a window and we can just check, 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 check all the ones that we'd like to add in, and when we click OK, they'll pop in. And we can decide. We can have some as a bar, some as a call out, completely up to you. The timeline frame also allows me to adjust by dragging. Notice as I drag, watch the Gantt. Yes, my Gantt matches up with the timeline. Very nice. So the timeline giving us just another way that we can view the information, pick out a few things that are really important, pop them onto the timeline, and that'll give you a quick glance at where you are and what's coming up. If you decide to turn the timeline off, we turn it off the same exact way we turned it on, over to the View tab, into Split View, uncheck, bye-bye. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. And when we're in the spot where we need to take the timeline and copy it out, maybe to use in a presentation, maybe to send in an email, what do? It's always nice to know that we can get certain parts of the window out to use them in presentations. So what do we want to do here? Well, we need to get into the timeline ribbon tabs. And to make that happen, we click on the object. When you click on the object in these programs, that's how we get the ribbon to pop up. So once we click into the timeline, I get the Format tab, and I've got my Copy Timeline. In here, I can copy out if it's for email, for presentation, or full size. These are obviously just different sizes, different quality for different uses. So we pick the one that meets our needs. I'll pick for presentation. That does the copy. Now I have to go into a presentation to actually do the paste. So let me head down into my taskbar and grab PowerPoint. Got a nice blank slide here, so let me select and paste. It pops in. It's a little bit small, but I'll move it down, stretch it out. How about that? And if I head into full screen mode, this is pretty good. So if I do need to use the timeline in a presentation to present to my team, there you go, I've got it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. As we've talked about in earlier lessons, projects can be thought of as a giant container. We put in all the information about our project, all the details of our project, and then project can allow us to pull it out in all sorts of different views. Well, tables are a view. They're a working view that we've got. So if we put all the information in about our plan, now we would like to see it in different layouts. We can switch tables. The default table that we see, well, this is the entry table. And if I drag the Gantt off to the side, you can see in our standard view, we have things like the indicators column and our task mode, our task name, duration, start, finish, predecessors, and resources. And while this information is very helpful, there's a lot more information that project is holding. So let's head up to the View tab because we'd like to change what we're viewing in the data group, Tables. Now there are a lot of tables in here, the built-in ones listed. And by the way, more tables? We've got them. Lots of tables. But here we are at the entry table showing us the standard things that we like to see that we need to know right off the bat. What about cost-related information? If I switch to cost view, the table flips and shows me the task name, fixed costs, total costs, baseline, variance, actual, and remaining. Also notice with all the information displayed, the screen tip. The giant screen tips, love them. They describe what the column is holding. Did you see that? Let me pop it back up. So the remaining cost tells us that the remaining schedule expense that will be incurred in completing the remaining scheduled work. So you can always point to a column if you're not quite sure what it's displaying. How about another table? Let's head back up. What about the tracking table? Oh, I love the tracking table. Look at the information that's displayed here, the actual start, the actual finish, the percent complete. And meanwhile, we have duration, actual and remaining duration, actual cost and actual work. With the columns, if they are not displaying the information clearly, you can always head up in between, get the double-headed arrow. You can stretch them out. Yeah, did you see that? It went to 1251. Look at this one. It's chopping off numbers. Oh, I can't have that. Stretch it out to the right, and you'll see, wow, 25.39. So make sure the columns are wide enough. You can drag and stretch them like I did, or you can double-click. If you get the double-headed arrow and double-click, it will adjust them to be wide enough to display the longest entry. This is a nice table, too. Back up into the tables group. How about the variance table? Oh, this is another good one that allows you to see your change. So looking at your core plan, your base plan, what you planned to do, are we on schedule? Are we ahead? Are we behind? Well, the variance will tell you. We've got a one-day variance. That means we're 1 day behind. Ah, yeah, positive numbers mean you are behind schedule. If it was a negative number, that would mean you were ahead of schedule. So it lets us see where we are. And again, if we catch it early enough, maybe we can do something else in the plan to reverse it and get back on track. So many, many tables, and they allow us to look at our plan in different views. So from a cost standpoint, from a tracking standpoint, from a variance standpoint. But the key is you have to give project the information. Give it all the details, update it on a regular basis. These tables, wow, they give you some great information and they let you see what's coming. As we can see here, our plan, currently we're 1 day behind and we're not finished yet. So we do have a chance to turn it around before we get to the end and make it back to 0 days behind, or maybe a day ahead. So use the different tables to look at the information about your plan. And as I said, these are the ones that are the most frequently used, but more tables? Oh yes, we've got them. More tables. Pick it, apply it, And here now is my baseline information. This was my original plan. Originally planned to start on May 1st, finish on the 23rd, total 448 hours, total cost $13,924. That was my plan at the very beginning before the first task was underway. That's my baseline. Let me head back over to the entry table and back to my standard working view. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. When we're ready to create our plan, we open up Project and it takes us to this window. Now we have options here. Take a look down the right side of the window and we have templates. Oh my goodness, we do not have to start from scratch. We can start from an existing template. So you should definitely scroll the list, take a look at the choices, and if any of these fit your needs, you should check them out. You may not have as much work to do as you thought. So definitely scroll through, take a look at them. They do mention down at the bottom, if you're not finding what you're looking for, use the search box at the top to find more templates. That's up here. And we've got different searches on categories available. Let me scroll back up to the top. And let's say that I'm interested in the new product launch. So if I give it a click, it pops up a window, shows me a little bit more about what the plan looks like, gives me a description, a rating. Oh, I like that. And if I decide I want to take a look at it or use it, I click Create. It downloads it, opens it, and lets me check it out. It initially throws me into a report view, and I'm not so interested in the report view just yet. I really want to see the tasks that it's put in for me. So I'm going to head over to that view. View tab at the top, and I'll head to Gantt chart view. And now I can scroll the task list and see if this really works for what I need. If it does, oh, I can touch it up, clean it up, change the dates, get rolling. If it doesn't, well then I head back up to the File tab, go for New, and grab my blank project. And now I can start building my plan. And the upcoming lessons will take us through everything that we need to know about building your plan. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. We also need to create a project calendar. The project calendar is what project follows. So it knows what days we work, what days we have off, when it's okay to schedule people to work, when the holidays are. It's really important. Now, project does come with 3 built-in calendars. Let's take a look at where we find them and how we can work with them. Let's head up to the project tab and we'll go into the properties group and let's go for change working time. Big dialog box pops up, shows us the different available calendars. So the standard calendar gives us a standard schedule of Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 noon, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We've got the night shift calendar, which gives us Tuesday through Friday, 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., 11 p.m. to 12 a.m., and then Saturdays, 12 a.m. to 3 a.m., 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., and then the 24-hour calendar, which is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So these calendars are pre-created. You can pick the one that fits. And then we need to customize and tell project which days we have off. It doesn't know about the holidays. My preference is to create a copy of one of the base calendars and customize it with the days off that we need. And that way, if I mess up or I change my mind or I want to get back to just the standard default base calendar that comes with Project, I have it. I haven't customized it. I haven't messed with it. It's kind of like a safety net. So when I do that, I head over to the right side and choose to create a new calendar. And I make a copy of the calendar that I'm interested in working with. I'll stick with standard. And then I give it a name. And of course, you can name it anything that makes sense to you. I'll just name it the name of the company, abbreviation for the name of the company. Click OK. And now I have a copy of the standard calendar. And by doing that, I get my weekends already off. My working days are scheduled 8 to 12, 1 to 5. So I don't have to rebuild that part. But I do need to tell Project about the days that we have off, so it knows not to schedule anyone during those days. Nobody wants to work on the holidays. Let's tell Project about them, and then that way Project won't schedule people to work on those days. So as far as our project goes, let's say this project is going to start on May 1st, so I need to head into May. I can scroll down, find May, and do we have holidays in May? We sure do. So I picked the 26th. You can currently see the color scheme of the calendar. Gray on the weekends, that indicates non-working days. White everywhere else, working days. So right now, Memorial Day, we're working. According to Project anyway. If we want an actual projected end date, we should tell it about the days off so that it doesn't schedule anyone to work that day. And once we change the schedule, you'll see that we do get some different colors that pop in to let us know that the days are scheduled as different. So I click on a day, I head down into the exceptions, click into the exceptions and type and press enter. The day pops in, I'll click back on it, it looks red. I don't see that color over here. Yes, it's that color because it's clicked on. If I click away from it, you can see it's kind of a blue shaded background to let us know it's an exception day. If I click back on it, you can see now it's scheduled as non-working. So we can easily pop that in. Now Memorial Day happens to fall as the 4th Monday in May every year. I don't want to have to put it in again next year. Well, I can select it and head into the details. If the details button is grayed out, click on a different row, click back on it, details button comes back to life. Give it a click, and in here I can customize a recurrence. So I can say it's yearly. It's not always on May 26th, but it is the 4th Monday of May. And then how many occurrences should we put in? Well, a few. I don't want to have to update it every year, so we'll put in a few. How about 10? I click OK, and now Memorial Day is part of my calendar. Do we have any other holidays? Well, you know, we run into June. Nothing really in June, but let's go into July because I'd like to show you this. We've got July 4th, holiday. Let's say July 3rd. They give the office a half day. Maybe they have a picnic after work, right? It's non-working time. How do we do that? If we schedule it the same way, it's a whole day off. We can go in and edit the hours. So we select the day. Let's type it in. Let's say it's, I don't know, the summer picnic. Type it in, press enter, click back on it. Details. Set my working times. No afternoon, so I'll click on the number 2 to select the afternoon hours. Press the delete key on the keyboard to delete that row. Perfect. Click OK. And now let me click away from that date. Blue to let me know there is an exception. It's different, so it stands out, and if I click back on it, you see the working times are 8 to 12. So you can put in your half days, you can put in full days off. we need to tell Project about all of the days that are different so it knows not to schedule anyone on those days. And yes, you need to go through the entire year, put all the holidays in. I know it's a bummer, but we have to do it. Otherwise, Project will schedule people to work those days, put all the days in, and we'll see later on that there are ways to share this calendar with other projects. So you only have to build it once, but you do have to build it. Once we're done putting all the dates in, we click OK down at the bottom. And now we have the calendar built, but Project doesn't know about it yet. Project doesn't know that it's for this plan. 2 steps. Create the calendar, assign the calendar. So to assign the calendar, I head back up to the Project tab, Properties Group, and into Project Information. This is where I'll set my project start date. I mentioned that we were going to start May 1st, so let me head over there and grab May 1st, and then my calendar. Set to standard. So standard again knows the weekends are off, but it doesn't know about the holidays I just put in. So if I grab my CT calendar and click OK, now Project knows Memorial Day's off limits. Day before the 4th of July is a half day, and the 4th of July when I go back and put it in will be a day off. Put all the holidays in and then assign the calendar to your project. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Once I've got my project plan created, my next move will be to enter the tasks in. So, very easy to do. We like to do this in Gantt chart view. So you can see I'm in Gantt chart view here over on the left. I click into the task name column and I start entering in my tasks. I'll type them and press enter, and that's how I'll enter them in. So I continue on entering them in. Notice this one extends beyond the ends of the column when I press enter. You can see it wraps. So after I put in a few of the tasks, if I'm ever in the spot of, oh, I forgot to put one in, what do? I can insert. Yeah, sure, I can insert a new one in right into the middle. So when that time comes that you need to add one in that you've skipped, we can select the row. New tasks will go above the selected task. So select this one, it'll go above it. If I head up to the Task tab at the top of the window, out into the Insert group, here's my Task button. And you can see in the screen tip it says Insert a new task above the selected task. I give it a click, and I get a new row. It says New Task, and then I can type in the task that I missed. And that one is to secure my primary resources. So click, type, press enter, and if you'd like, you can stretch out the columns. Yes, you can. Grab those column divider and stretch it out. So we'll insert in all the tasks for the entire plan, and I do want to mention as well, you saw me insert a task. Right here at the beginning, no big deal. I insert the task in. We don't have a lot going on in the plan just yet. When I've got a plan that's being worked and I insert a task in, that can be a little bit tricky. So I do want to show you, if we head into the File tab and down into Options, I'll head over to the Schedule group and into the scheduling options for this project. Right here. Auto link inserted or moved tasks. we do want to check that box. By checking that box, if the plan is already built and the tasks are linked, we'll learn about that in an upcoming lesson, a new task that's inserted in between existing tasks will automatically pop in between them, be linked to the task above and the task below. This makes life much easier. So you definitely want to check that out. Auto link inserted or moved tasks. Check the box, click OK, and now I know as I continue to work the plan, if I forget a task and I insert it in, not a big deal. It'll pop in between and it'll automatically connect to the task above and the task below. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Occasionally when you review your list of tasks, you realize they might be out of order. What do? We do not delete and retype. No. We can move the tasks. Never retype. So if I realize here this use application software, maybe I'd like it to be after investigate application software. I'd like to move them. The way that we do it, I select the number for the row, give it a click, and let go. Notice my mouse pointer has changed to a four-headed arrow. That's what I'm looking for. So click once and let go, you'll get the four-headed arrow. Then I go back to the same number, click, hold my finger down on the mouse, and I drag. Now as I drag down, do you see the gray line come with me? Up, down. See that gray line coming with me? Wherever I let go, that's where the task will move to. So I only want to put it underneath row 9 so that the new task will be under investigate application software. So I get the line in the right place, I let go, and ta-da, they reverse. So drag and drop. Also, as we review our tasks, we then bump into situations where we say, maybe I don't need to do that task. So here I've got research application software and investigate application software. They sound kind of repetitive. So if I decide I'd like to delete one, two ways to delete. I can again click on the row number to select the entire row. I can press the delete key on the keyboard. It'll disappear. I can also right click. I know a lot of people like that right click. So if I right click right on the row number, you'll see that I do have the option to delete right in here. I pick it, it disappears. Always keep in mind, as with all the Microsoft applications, if you're ever in that spot where you do something and you think, oh no, undo. Anytime you have that panic of, what just happened? Undo. Don't worry about it. Just undo. So if we head up to the top, in the Quick Access toolbar, we have our undo button. So I give it a click, and if you watch my task list, the task I deleted pops right back in. So yes, always remember you can undo. Don't panic. Just undo. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. If you find yourself building a plan and there's a task that needs to be completed again and again and again, what we're not going to do is build it again and again and again. No. We're going to use a recurring task. That way we can put it in once and have it reoccur throughout the project plan. So, first move is to click on the task that you want it to go above. Anytime we're inserting a task, it goes above the selected task. So maybe I'd like to just put it right at the top of the plan, under Start, but above the preliminary steps. I select here, head up to the Task tab, out to the Insert group. And in the Insert group, I know it's a task, but I'm not clicking on the top part of the button because that'll just insert a new task. I want a recurring task. So I use the drop down at the bottom, and look who's in here. Recurring task. When I choose it, it's going to ask me for a few things. The first is the name. So if I have a project team meeting and I'd like to make it part of the plan, I can put it in. How long is it? Whoa, that's too long. So maybe it's 2 hours. And then how often? We can do daily. Oh, the project members wouldn't like that very much, but if you had a daily, right, you choose. Weekly, there you go. Monthly, or yearly. All right, let's say I go with weekly and I want it every other week. I can change that to 2. And I pick my day. What's a good day? How about Wednesdays? When does it start? And when does it end? For each, the start date and the end date, we do have a drop down at the end where you can pick your time frame. So you don't have to type it in. You can pick the date. You can also choose your calendar for scheduling. All right, see the lesson on calendars for more information about that. Choose my calendar so project knows what days we're working, what days we're off. And I click OK, and it pops right in. This way, I don't have to build it 6 different times. I build it once, it goes in, and it's there 6 different times. It's part of my plan. If I need to make adjustments to it, I can give it a double click. Takes me right back into the same box that I used to create it. This would let me adjust the information that goes with the entire task. Cancel. I can double click on a single, and I can adjust just this one. Change the duration of just meeting number 1. Change the start date and the end date of just meeting 1. So you have control over the individuals and all of them at once. Let me cancel out of here. Also very nicely, next to the project team meeting, we have a little twisty. I can give a little click to that triangle. It'll twist and collapse them into a single line. Little indicator to the left lets me know it's a recurring task. Never, never, never type a task in more than once. Use this. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. When we have a project plan that has a lot of tasks in it, sometimes it's hard to follow the plan. It's hard to see. It's hard to understand what's going on here. So sometimes it's helpful if we categorize the tasks, maybe break them into different phases. So if I want to do that, I'll have to put in tasks that are the phase name, like preliminary steps, like research application software, like outline development. Those are my different phases. So to make it easier to view, if I select the tasks under a phase and indent them. To indent them, I'm heading up to the Task tab, into the Schedule group, and using the indent. Watch my task list. Not only are they indented, but my phase task becomes bold, gets a little twisty to the left of it. I can use that to collapse and expand, and it becomes a roll-up. So once I put in the rest of the information, this line will be a roll-up over the entire group. So it'll show me duration for the group, start date, earliest start date for the group, latest finish date for the group. This makes it so much easier to read. So if I go down under my next group and select the sub-tasks, and indent. Isn't it better? It's better. And the next group, and indent. Oh, I really like this. Indent this one as well. And how about one more? Now, as I look at my task list, much easier to see the different phases, the different groups. It's not just one long list of unending tasks. They're categorized, they're groups. This is better. So I would continue down my task list, group everybody together, and remember, if you didn't put in phase names or group names, go back to the lesson on inserting tasks and insert those group names, those phase names, and then you can do this. Also, which makes it better and easier to read, is a project summary task. And that'll be a task at the top of the list. It'll be task 0. And it gives us a bold roll-up over the entire project. So if I want to put that in, I head up to the Format tab, into the Show Hide group, and check the box, Project Summary Task. When I checked it, there's my new row 0. It's named the same thing as my project plan. And it's a roll-up over the entire project. Notice the little twisty? Yes, if I click it, collapses the entire project down to a single line. Let me expand. And it will give me, when I'm done, a duration over the entire project, the earliest start date, the latest finish date over the entire project. This is pretty handy. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Now we're up to entering the duration for the tasks. So how long are they going to take to complete? We need to tell project. So it's really just a click and type situation. So when I know how long a task is going to take, I click into the duration column on that row and I type it in, 0.5 for half a day. When I press enter, project understands when I don't say anything, it means days. So you see that it popped in days for me. The next task as well, 0.5. I press enter. Next task is a full day. I type in 1 and press enter. Now as I'm typing these in, you can see the Gantt bars are being popped in. Neat. All right, next task, half a day. When I get into some tasks that are longer, like 4 days, watch the Gantt bar. How about that? So we can see it growing on the Gantt chart as well and popping in here. Now also, as I continue through this phase, 2 days, 2 days, you can see that my summary task has a total, 4 days. And that's over the entire phase. 4 days, why not 8 days, right? 4 plus 2 plus 2. Well, here's what it is. It's 4 days from the earliest start date to the latest finish date. So right now you see the tasks are all starting on the same day. We know that's not a reality. Of course, we'll be fixing that in a later lesson. Right now we haven't told it how the tasks relate to each other. So project puts them all in. They all start on the same day. So the 4 days is from the earliest start date. They all start on the same day. The finish is the latest finish date. And that's 4 days, so it thinks the entire phase is 4 days. You'll see once we link the tasks together in another lesson that this will change and display a more accurate representation of total days. So that also leads us to another question. What is a day? Well, project defines 1 day as 8 hours, 1 week as 40 hours, and 1 month as 20 working days. So when I want days, you saw I type in the number 4. I press enter, it gives me 4 days. If I want anything else, if I want hours, maybe it's only a 4-hour job, I could type in 4H for hour, and project would understand that's 4 hours. Or if it's going to take 5 days and I want to say 1 week, 1W, and project understands that's 1 week, it's 40 hours. So we have options on how we enter the information in. So the key, continue down your list, putting in all of the durations, my outline, 4 days. Press enter. Present to publisher, 1 day. Review, 1 day. Incorporate feedback, 1 day. And I continue all the way down. Now what about this one all the way at the top that I skipped? Start. Skipped it. Well, start isn't really a task, but it is something that happens. And sometimes we like to mark different areas, like the beginning of the plan and the end of the plan with a milestone. Sometimes we want to do it with phases, the beginning of a phase, the end of a phase with milestones. If we'd like to do that, we can enter them in as a task, but set their duration to 0. When I type in 0 and press enter, watch the Gantt. 0 days, and the Gantt shows me a little diamond. That's the milestone marker, and it puts the date in. So it's just a marker, just an indicator for you. And like I say, use it at the beginning and the end of the project, or the beginning and the end of phases. Completely up to you when you have something you want to include in the plan, but it's not really a task. You can enter it as a milestone. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Our next step now is to link the tasks together, to specify how they'll occur. Many times we have one task that needs to finish before the next task begins, and that's called a finish to start. One finishes, the next can start. But before we do that, I want to take a look at the task mode column because we see a couple of different indicators in here. And we've got 2 different modes, manually scheduled and auto scheduled. Manually scheduled is the default for Project 2013. And what that means is when you enter in new tasks, you will manually say yourself what date they start on and what date they finish on. And this gives you tremendous control over the project because you say the task starts this day, the task ends that day. The other method is the auto-scheduled mode. And the auto-scheduled mode is really nice to use in the beginning as we build the plan because it gives us flexibility. If we let project handle the start date and the finish date, we handle the duration and the link method. Project will figure out the start date and the finish date for us. So take a look at my screen here. My task mode column, I've got a lot of things going on in here. I'd like everybody to be automatically scheduled. So I'm going to select the column and I'm heading up to my task tab, tasks group, and I want to pick auto schedule. Now, what this does for me is as I say that one task must finish before the next can start, project will go, okay, well, if that task is half a day, the next task has to wait till it finishes. We have to wait half a day. The next task is 1 day in duration. So again, we must wait a full day before the task that follows can begin. So project will figure out when the tasks have to start, and then of course when they end based on their duration. So as I select the tasks, start, I'll use the control key, and I'm only selecting the tasks that need to be completed. I am not selecting the summary tasks, and I select all the tasks that need to finish first, and then the next task can begin. So I use that control key, I move down the window, control key, and I'm clicking to select. Once I do this, I'll head back up to the top, scroll back up to the top. Currently you see my project starts on May 1st and it's saying it finishes on June 5th. But again, all the tasks right now are starting on day 1, which is not really the case. In our situation, most of them must finish, then the next task can begin. That one finishes, then the next task can begin. That one finishes, then the next task can begin. So with the tasks selected, I'm going to head up again to the Task tab, Schedule Group, and here is my Link button. I give it a click, watch. Wow. Yes, my finish date jumped out to July 16th because again, this task has to finish, then the next can begin. This one finishes, the next one can begin. This one finishes, the next one can begin. Finish to start. Now that is the default link type, finish to start, because it's so common. There are actually 4 link types. Take a look at my window. And here, I'm just out on Microsoft's website. They define the 4 link types that we have. Finish to start is what I'm using right now, and that is the default. Task B can't start until task A is done. There is a start to start. Task B can't start until task A starts. They don't have to start at the same time. Task B can begin anytime after A begins. And then there's the finish to finish and the start to finish. So based on your situation, based on your plan, you pick the link type that works for you. But wait, right? We clicked the link button and it automatically gave everybody a finish to start. What if I need a start to start? Where do I go to do that? Let me show you. So let me head back into my project plan. And I have 2 tasks here. Use application software and interview subject matter expert. I think these 2 tasks can be a start to start. They can work at the same time. I don't have to wait for using the application software to be finished before we start interviewing a subject matter expert. Now, because this task is off the page, I might like to scroll so that it is in view. On the Task tab at the top of the window, all the way out on the right end in the Editing group, I have this wonderful button called Scrolled to Task. When I scroll to Task, it does just that. It scrolls me so that I can see the selected task in view. Isn't that nice? Let me scroll back to the left just a little bit so we can see the task above it. I want these 2 tasks to be start to start. So I go into Interview Subject Matter Expert with a double click. Double click on it. This takes me into the Task Information dialog box. There's a lot going on in here. We are heading over to the Predecessors tab because this allows us to work with the task that precedes it. If I move the dialog box off to the side and maybe up a little bit, you can see the task that precedes it is called Use Application Software. There it is, Use Application Software, and it shows me the link type is Finish to Start. I'll give it a click, drop down. All of them are in there. I pick Start to Start. And now when I click OK, I want you to watch this. And you can also watch the finish date. I click OK. It backs up. Start to start. Notice the line comes out of the left side of the Gantt bar instead of out of the end. Start to start. So that's how we easily identify them on the Gantt. So as you build your plan, that's another thing we have to think about. How do the tasks relate to each other? Must one finish, then the next begins? Or can I have 2 tasks start at the same time or finish at the same time? Or, right, 4 different link types for whatever you need. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Every once in a while we bump into a situation where the tasks are all linked and we realize we need to move a task. What's going to happen if we move it and we don't unlink it? It gets a little bit messy because it believes it's linked to one task and then you move it and it's still linked to one task, but the task isn't next to it. It's a mess. So if you're ever in the spot where you need to move tasks around and they're linked, the best way to go, unlink them, move them, relink them. So our situation is here. We've got task 26, review the proof, 27, print the proof, 28, apply the final edits and revisions. I'm thinking I'd like to print it and review off of the printed copy. So I need to move this task 26 down below task 27. They are already linked. So I'll select these 3 tasks that are involved in the movement, and I'll unlink them. Task tab, schedule group, unlink. When I unlink them, they will disappear because they're no longer linked. Now I notice, oh look, I selected this one. It's still linked to the task above. Yeah, that's not going to be good. So let's select this one and this one using the control key and also unlink. Now I can move the tasks into the right order. So I can select row 26, drag it down. They're in the right order now. Select, control key, select, 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 and then relink them. And they pop back out and they're all linked, finish to start. So just a good thing to know, if the tasks are already linked and you move them around, they remain linked to who they were linked to. The lines go crazy and your project will probably go crazy too. It gets very confusing. So if they're already linked and you need to move them, unlink them, use the unlink button, move them into the right order, and then relink. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. When we're looking at our project plan, we may have tasks that are linked, finish to start. But once a task finishes, the next task may not be able to immediately start. Imagine if I have a task that says, pour concrete, and then build on the concrete is the next task. I have to wait for the concrete to harden, to set, before I can build on it. Many times we have a task that requires a delay. After it's done, the next task is the next task, but it can't begin immediately. We need to put in lag time, that delay after a task completes before the next task can begin. When we enter in lag time, it's a positive number, and you'll see it'll extend the length of the task, so a positive number. On the other side of that, on the opposite spectrum, lead time. Sometimes we have a task and it's finish to start with the next task, but I don't really need to wait for that task to finish before the next one to start. For example, my task here in row 20, spell check, grammar check, and proofreading. Must I wait for that task to be 100% complete before I start the technical editing? If I'm working in a 10-lesson book, do I have to wait for them to spell check and grammar check and proofread all 10 lessons before I can start technical editing on the first one? No! That would be lead time. And lead time is entered as a negative number because it'll actually back up the start date of that task. So where do we enter this lag time and lead time? Well, we select the task. So this is my task, technical editing. I give it a double click. That'll take me into the task information. And if I head to the predecessors tab, I have a lag column. There's no lead column. Remember, lag time is entered as a positive number because it adds to the length of the task. Lead time is entered as a negative number because it backs up the start date, subtracts from the start date. So let's say in this case, once the spell check and grammar check and proofreading is about 40% done, send the book on to the next task and let them do the technical editing. They can overlap. So if I want to enter in the lag time, I click into the lag column and I type in my number. How about negative 40%? I don't need an exact hour or time frame. I say negative 40%. When I click OK, let me move the box up so you can see my Gantt bars. This is how they look right now. And the technical editing task starts on 7-3. When I click OK, it backs up to 7-2. And look at the line, comes out and back. Let me click away from the task so you can see it even better. out and back. So it is a finish to start, but when we see a line like that, that means there's lead time. It's been backed up, so it starts a little bit sooner. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. A deadline in Microsoft Project is just a visual indicator for you to let you know that there is a deadline coming up. If you have a deadline and you want to put it so it displays on your Gantt, we can do that. We double-click the task, head to the Advanced tab, and here's our deadline field. So I choose the drop-down, head into the right time frame, and let's say that my deadline is the 20th. I choose May 20th. When I click OK, out on the end, I get a green down pointing arrow so that I can easily see when the deadline is. If the deadline happens to fall in the Gantt bar, which means we're going to finish after, we'll get a red indicator in the indicators column to let us know that we are falling behind. Let's see how that looks. I'll double click on the task and I'll set the deadline for Friday. We'll back it up to Friday the 16th. Oh no! When I click OK, you'll notice that the green arrow, a little bit tougher to see, it's in the Gantt bar, but we do get the red indicator to let us know that there is a deadline and we are not meeting it. Kind of nice though. I'm going to undo because I prefer to see it out on the end. Much better. I feel better. All right, and the other thing that we've got going on are constraints. Let's say here for this task, present outline to publisher. I call the publisher, I say, hey publisher, we're ready to work with you Monday 5/19 to Tuesday 5/20. Let's set up a meeting. And the publisher says to me, oh no, yeah, I'm out of town, not available. Can't get together with you until Wednesday. No earlier than Wednesday. Are you sure? Please, please, please. No, they can't do it till Wednesday. We need to put this in our plan. So I double click on the task. I head in, let me move it down so you can see. There's my Gantt bar. I head into the Advanced tab, and my constraint type by default is as soon as possible, which means that all the tasks will be scheduled as soon as possible. So if a task finishes up early and this task can begin early, it would automatically shift back a day. Yeah, we're not in that mode anymore because they've said to us they cannot begin any earlier than the 21st. So you see there's a variety of them in the list, and we try to use the ones, of course, that fit us best. Now, with all of these different constraint types, there are ones that are very flexible, like as soon as possible and as late as possible, very flexible. And then we have ones like must start on, must finish on, very inflexible. So we try to leave all the tasks with as soon as possible, but sure enough, every once in a while we bump into those situations where it is what it is. They can't start any earlier than the 21st. Any day after that, they say, is fine. So if for whatever reason things get pushed back, they can do the 21st, the 22nd, 23rd, fine with those days, just not any earlier than the 21st. So we must pick start no earlier than and pick the 21st. Now when I put it in, you'll see my Gantt bar will move, so keep an eye on it. My project start and finish dates will move as well. I click OK. It bumps out. All right, and the project start date is the 21st. So like I said, we try not to use those because they are, less flexible. We like as soon as possible, very flexible. We'll move the tasks back and forth and let the project move back and forth as tasks are finished early or finished late. It's really the way to go. But when you're in the spot, you got to use it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. We have a great little note feature that's built into Project, and it's all over the place. When you have unusual situations, when you have things that you'd like to add into the plan, I need a note, I need to remember. We have a notes place where we can put the notes, whether it's in the tasks, whether it's in the resources, we can add notes so you'll remember. In this situation here, I've got present outline to publisher, and I see it's a one-day task. Starts on Wednesday, finishes on Wednesday, and here it is, but I've got this dead time, this slack. What is this all about? Why is this task waiting to begin? Well, if I put notes in, I'll have the answer. So to put the notes in, I double click on the task, head over to the Notes tab, and I've got a big window where I can type in the information. And not only can I put them in, I can format them, adjust their font, their alignment, bullets, and even insert objects. So anytime you're in a situation where things are unusual or you'd like to provide additional information, we can. So here I've got this little bit of dead time. Why? Publisher is not available until 5/21 or later. Now, when the question comes up, what's that all about? I have a note, and I have the answer. And again, if I'd like to snazz it up a little bit, I can select and format. And make it stand out. There it is. Now also, with the note, when I put it in, I click OK. I will get a note indicator in the indicators column. See the yellow square? That lets me know that there's a note on the task. So when the question comes up later, what's this all about? If I see the note indicator to the left, let me point to it. And I get a screen tip that shows up. The first one tells me about the constraint that was placed on the task. The second one in the screen tip notes. Publisher is not available until 5/21 or later. So I have the answer right there without having to double click on the task and go into the task information dialog box to read it. Float over the indicator and read. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. It's time to add the resources into our project plan. Resources are what we use to complete the tasks. Could be the people, could be the materials, could be the equipment. It's what we use to get the job done. So where do we add them in? We need to go to the resource sheet. And to get to the resource sheet, we will head to the View tab and into the resource sheet. As you can see, we've got our work cut out for us. All of your resources need to be entered. We're going to enter in a couple to show you how to get it done and show you how to do a few different styles of resources. So let's say first, my resource is the project manager. What type of resource is it? Well, my choices are work, material, and cost. My work or my people. All right, my work or my equipment. All right, so it's a work. Material, this is actually, if I stretch it out, you'll see it's called material label. We use that when we get into the materials. The initials, that's a column that we can use to add initials to refer to the items. I'll stick with the P. And then the group. This is an optional column that you can use to group your resources. And you'll see in some further lessons that we can use grouping so we can view the information in different ways. So if you group them together by a term you make up, maybe it's different classes you make, maybe it's internal, external, completely up to you. The next column is max, and this is their maximum availability. By default, it's 100%, meaning they're available 8 hours a day. Every day that the company's working, they're available, 100%. If they were part-time, we could knock them down to 50%. This one is 100%. We've got the standard rate. So if I type in the standard rate, that's their hourly rate. If we have an overtime rate, we can put that in as well. Cost per use. Sometimes when we rent equipment, it costs a certain amount of dollars to get it on site. No matter how long we use it, no matter how many times we ask for it, it's always X number of dollars every time we need it. Cost per use. Not in this case. The accrual column lets us specify how this is accrued, how the charges are accrued for using this resource at the beginning, at the end, or prorated over the use. And then we've got the calendar. We've talked about calendars earlier and how the project calendar goes with the project. The project calendar specifies which days we work, which days we don't. Resources can have their own calendars as well. So if you have a resource that works different hours than the company, you can create a calendar for them and then specify the calendar here. That way, again, project will know which days they work and which days they don't. The code column is another column. It's available, it's optional. You can create codes, again, for grouping of your resources and sorting and filtering of your resources. And then there's always the add new column. So if there is a need to track some information that's not in one of these, we can do it. So that's a work. How about a material? Let's say paper for my proof. All right, this is a material, and I can pick it from the drop-down list or type the letter M. That's what I did, and it popped in material. What is my material label? Well, maybe we buy the paper in reams. So I put in reams. All right, initials available. This will be an external. We will buy the paper from outside. And you can see the max units. Nothing pops in because, again, it's a material. And how much is it? Maybe $5. No cost per use. No calendar necessary. So your materials will go in like that. How about costs? Like travel expenses. I'll type in the C for cost. And when I pop that in, you see that everything else on the line disappears essentially. I can put it into a group if I'd like. All right, the costs will be associated with that resource as it's used. We'll see where we put that in later. And then budget. Ah, yes, if you plan on using this to help you compare your actuals to your budget, your plan to your budget, we need to put the budget in. And what we do is we will put in a budget line item for labor, for materials, for costs. And by adding it as a resource, we can assign a value to budget later. And then when we run reports, we can compare the budget to the actual, the budget to the plan, and we can see where we fall. Now, budget is special because after we do put it in, labor is work, so that's good. I need to mark it as budget. To do that, I double click on the item. And out here on the resource information dialog box, right side of the general tab, check the box that says budget. That marks it as a budget. And take a look right now, you can see all of these fields for costs looking for information. When I click OK, it knows it's a budget. They all disappear. They know it's going to be used as a special item. So we would complete this window. All your resources, all your people, all your materials, everything that we're going to use to complete the tasks needs to go in here. And that way we have the ability to assign it to the tasks. It's got to be in here or it can't be assigned to the tasks. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Sometimes we have resources that aren't available 100% of the time. What do we do? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to head into the Resource Sheet view. So we head up to the View tab and we go for Resource Sheets. We find the resource we're interested in. I'll say it's Assistant 2. Now, if Assistant 2 was just not available to work 100% of the time, I could easily change their availability to 50% right here. And by changing it to 50%, it means they would be available 4 hours a day. That may work in some situations, but in our situation, it's a little bit more involved. So I'll put them back to 100%, and I'll actually double click on the row number for their row. And when I double click, it'll take me into the resource information dialog box. Down at the bottom, I can see resource availability. And again, available from the beginning of time to the end of time. They're available 100%. Again, changing it to 50% here would mean that they're available half days. But our situation is that they're available half days, but only in the afternoons. And it's only for a 1-month period. Oh, yeah, that's a little bit different. Sometimes we have resources that are very different. So here's what we can do. We can head over to the right, choose Change Working Time. And when we head into this window, we can do some things in here. So let me change their work week, because again, we said they're available afternoons only. Right now, no matter which day we click on, they're available 8 a.m. to 12, 1 p.m. to 5. We need to fix that. So the easiest way to change it for all days is to go to the default on the Work Weeks tab, click the Details button, and select the days. So I'll use the Shift key to select multiple days, and I'll set the days to these specific working times. I don't want the morning hours, so I click on the gray box to the left of the morning hours, press the Delete key on my keyboard, they disappear. When I click OK, their working times now have been changed to 1 to 5 forever. When I scroll into the next month and click on any day, I have changed their default work week to 1 to 5. And that makes sense in this situation because that's when they're available, 1 to 5. All right, so that's good. But that doesn't solve our whole problem. This says they're available 1 to 5 every day. We have a limitation with them as well. So not only 1 to 5, but they're only available July 15th to, let's say, August 31st. Little summer job. So we set all of that up and we click OK. And now if I click back on Assistant 2, you'll notice that the units have changed to 0. 0? Are they available 0? Well, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it is kind of 0, right? Everybody else, their availability was the NA to the NA, right? Available from the beginning of time to the end of time. They're available 100%. We've modified Assistant 2 to be available half days for about a 6-week period. So compared to everybody else, that's pretty close to 0. They're pretty much never available. So that is our indicator that this resource has some differences going on. What you could also do to help yourself, add a note. Add a note. Refer back to the lesson on adding notes. Add a note to the resource. You'll get a little note indicator in the indicators column to also remind you that there's something special about Assistant 2. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Now let's look at assigning the resources to the tasks, and there are a few different ways to get it done. The first way that we can do it is from the Task tab in Gantt chart view. I'm going to grab the divide line between the two panes and stretch it out to the right, and look who's hiding back here. The resource names column. So you know we can click in here, use the drop down, and we can pick. And you'll notice that they're checkboxes, so we can pick one or more. So once I find the one that I want, I can press enter. It pops into the resource names column, and look out here, pops out onto the Gantt as well. Nice. That's one way to go. Now how about these three tasks? They all are also assigned to the project manager. I could of course do them one at a time the same way that I just did the first one, but there's a better way. Let me head up to the Resource tab, and with those three tasks selected, let me choose Assign Resources. My dialog box pops open, and in here I find who I'm looking for. There you are, Project Manager. Let me scroll up so you can see it. Pick it and click Assign, and the Project Manager pops in on all the selected tasks. Yeah, that's pretty good too. And the dialog box stays open so we can easily assign resources to other tasks by selecting. Click on that task. Let me find my writer and assign. Move the dialog up, and there it is, writer 1. So we can always pop in the resources on a single or multiple using the Assign Resources dialog box or the Resource Names column. If we have to, we can replace a resource right through this dialog box as well. So let's say writer number 1, not available. I'd like to replace them with writer number 2. I pick them, choose Replace, pick the replacement, click OK, and it's done. All right, also if we just need to remove, we can do that right through here as well. Pick writer number 2, choose Remove, and no one is assigned. And finally, what if I need writer number 1 and writer number 2 working on this task? Well, I can do it through the Resource Names column like we saw earlier. Let me move it over. I could come in here, use the drop-down arrow, check writer number 1, writer number 2, press enter. That's all fine and good. That works. But while I'm in the Assign Resources dialog box, why not pick writer 1 and writer 2 with the Shift key and assign? And they pop in. Let me close the dialog box. And remember, Resource Names column also works. Click into the column, use the drop-down arrow, pick who you like, press enter, and that's who you get. So lots of different ways to get it done. It's really about what's comfortable for you, what seems easiest for you. There they are. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Oh, it's going to happen. We're going to accidentally assign a resource to work too many tasks at one time. It's going to happen. How do we know that we've done it? Thankfully, in Project 2013, we get the little red guys. So yes, when we're in Gantt chart view, we get the little red people. And that lets us know easily at a glance that a resource is over allocated. If we point to it, you see the screen tip, it tells us they are over allocated. And that means that they're scheduled to work more than an 8-hour day or more than a 40-hour week. They are over allocated. So what do? Well, right, we need to find them. And thankfully, this is one way we can easily find it. Look for the red guys. Then, of course, we need to hunt down the tasks as well. We can see them listed here. I can easily head to the Task tab and scroll to Task. And I can see I've got a potential problem here. Writer number 1 scheduled to do this task at the same time as this task. All right, that's a problem. But where else can we see it? Let's head up to our other views. So if I head up to the View tab, and I take a look at Resource Usage View. In Resource Usage View, again, I'll see the red. That's my indicator. Anytime we see red, it's not good. So I see the red, I click on it, and again, head up to the Task tab and out to scroll to Task. Look for the red out here. Here's my problem. And again, I can see my tasks. Another one. Yes, editor number 1 also, oops, over allocated. So I can select that one, scroll to task, look for the red. I see it here. So again, it's letting me see the task names, and it's letting me see when it's happening. I can look on the timeline. All right, so Resource Usage View is a good one as well. Where else? Let's head up to the View tab. Of course, the Resource Sheet will show us some things. So on the Resource Sheet, again, red letting us know they're over allocated. But here we don't get as much detail. I don't know which tasks. So the other views are better. And the last place I'll take you is Team Planner View. Team Planner View is a fairly new view, and it's a nice one because we can see the over allocated resource, and we can see the task on a timeline view. And the red brackets letting us know this is where the problem lies. So thankfully, through the versions of Project, it's gotten better and easier to discover over allocated resources. Our next lesson, we'll talk about what to do about it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. So once we've looked into these resource conflicts and we've probably figured out what we want to do, it's time to do it. So what do? Well, I'll select the task that I'm interested in. Here you can see I've got the Interview Subject Matter Expert task, and it's assigned to writer number 1. It's happening at the same time as the task above it, also assigned to writer number 1. Writer number 1 is not allowed to work 16-hour days. So I'd like to take this task and assign writer number 2 to it. So I select the task, head up to the Resource tab, and into Assign Resources. Move the dialog box out of the way so I can see what's happening. Pick writer number 1, and I'd like to replace writer number 1 with writer number 2. Let me move this dialog box also out of the way so we can see what's going on here. So writer number 1 currently, when I click OK, writer number 2. And all the red people disappeared. One replacement cleaned up the issue with all of those tasks. That's definitely one way to go. How else could we do it? Well, scroll down. Let me give a click here into my next conflict, and let me scroll to task. So head up to the Task tab, into the editing group, and scroll to task. Again, I've got a similar situation. Editor number 1 doing 2 tasks at the same time. Now I could replace editor number 1 with someone else. That's definitely possible. But how about if I'd like to fix this? And I'd like to let Project fix it. Project, tell me what you think we should do here. Well, we have a tool called the Leveling tool. And the Leveling tool will look around at your plan, at the resources, at the tasks, at the slack, at the task priority, at the constraints, and it will try to make adjustments. Now again, it doesn't know what you know, So remember, when you use the leveler, be careful. I always create a backup copy of my plan before I use the level tool. That way, I've got that backup, that fallback. You can use the level tool and undo if you don't like it and you realize it immediately, undo. But just in case you don't realize it right away, have that backup copy. All right, what I'm going to do here is it's editor number 1. Let me head into the resource sheet. And let me pick editor 1. And now let me grab the level tool. So it's up on the resource tab. Out here, level resource. So I've selected my resource. All right, and I also like to just double check in here that they are also selected. And I can choose level now. The red went away. Woohoo! What does that mean, right? What happened? Well, let's take a look back. So let me head back to Gantt chart view. And let's see what's going on with that task. It was down here, these two, spell check and technical editing. And you can see what it's done is it's pushed the one task out. So the first task can finish, then the next task can begin. Now we have to be careful with this because, of course, by pushing this task out, it could increase our final finish date of our entire plan. So you have to check it out, see if it's acceptable to you. If it is, great, save your work and continue on. If it's not acceptable, remember, you can always undo. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Another great tool we have for checking out what's going on with a task is the Task Inspector. So we can click on a task. I always like to scroll to the task as well, so I can see it in the task list, but I like to scroll to the task so I can also check it out here in the Gantt. All right, so I do see with the little red guy letting me know I've got resources over allocated, and I can kind of see what's going on out here. But the Task Inspector will let me see even more. The Task Inspector we find on the Task tab, and we head out into the Tasks group. And here is the Task Inspector button. I give it a click. It opens a pane on the left side that tells me all about the task. This is the task we have selected. This is what the issue is. The resources are over allocated due to work on other tasks. The actions. So it gives me some buttons. These are actually buttons I can do, and I can click on them to move the task to the resources next available time. So with one click, I can push that task right out. Wow. I also can use this button, and if I click on this one, it'll take me to Team Planner view where I can get more information. And then it gives me more down below that the tasks are auto-scheduled, the start date, the finish date, the predecessors, and any calendars. That's pretty helpful. How about this task down here also appears to be over allocated. If I give it a click, the Task Inspector flips automatically and shows me everything to do about this task. That is a great feature. So when I'm done with it, I can use the little X to close right out of it, and that'll make it disappear. Or if I'd like to, maybe I should click on Team Planner, get a little more detail about the task. All right, flips me into Team Planner view. There's my resource, but I can't quite see what's going on with it. So again, scroll to task. And here we can see the red highlighting to let us see exactly what's going on and the time frame that it's happening in. Now that I've seen it, I can close out of the Task Inspector, and I can make my decisions on how I'd like to handle this. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Perhaps you've already bumped into this problem. Created a project plan, filled in the resource sheet with all the resources, Worked your plan, everything's wonderful. Now the time comes to create a second plan. I need the same resources. Must I type them in all again? Thankfully, no. No. Yeah, we don't want to have to type them in again and again and then update them in multiple plans if somebody gets a rate change. Don't want to have to manage them like that. What we do instead is we share the resources through a pool. So what a pool is, it's a Microsoft project plan and it only has resources. Nothing else. No tasks, nothing. Just the resource sheet is completed, and when you save it and give it a name, give it a good meaningful name. Resource pool always works for me. And then I need to kind of declare it as the resource pool. So I head to the resource tab, into the resource pool, and I choose to share the resources. And I say I'd like to use my own resources, and the pool takes precedence. And what that means is if I've got multiple plans connected to the pool, whoever books the resource first and saves wins. So once I've allocated a resource to my plan, if someone else tries to grab that resource, the pool will tell them resource is already taken. So the pool takes precedence. So again, nothing here, nothing special here, no magic here. It's a blank project plan. The resource sheet is filled in. That's all that we have, resources, and we share the pool by saying, I will use my own resources. I click OK, and I save. Now imagine the time comes, new project plan. So I head into the File menu, go for New, blank project. There it is. It's a blank project. I need resources. So I head to the View tab, into the resource sheet, and of course the resources, it's empty. The whole plan is empty. I do not want to have to type in the same resources again and again, so I'll connect to the pool. Head to the Resource tab, Resource Pool, Share Resources. And it gives me the ability to use the resources from, and the pool must be open. All right, I don't have any other files open, so it's not giving me a drop down here. I pick the resource pool. The pool again takes precedence. Whoever gets the resource first gets the resource. I click OK. And woohoo! Look at that. The resource sheet populates. I love this. I didn't have to type them in. And even better than that, if a resource gets a rate change, we go into the pool, update it in the resource pool file, and the changes come out to all the linked projects. If resources are added, they're added to the pool. And when it's saved, it goes out to all the linked projects. This is big. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. If you're interested in comparing your budget to your actuals, your budget to your plan, then we need to put the budget into project. So your first step would be to go to your resource sheet and add in the budget items into the resource sheet. And when I navigate to my resource sheet, you can see that my budget items are listed down here. So if you haven't done that yet and you need assistance, refer back to the lesson on adding resources. So I've got my budget items listed. Let me head back to Gantt chart view. And what I need to do is I need to attach the budget items to the project summary task. So yes, project summary task at the top, resource names column, I use the drop down and I'll pick my budget items. So I assign the 3 of them to the project. That's step 1. Now I need to take the values for the budget and also put them in project. So to do this, lots of different ways to get it done, we're going to use resource usage view. All right, so view tab at the top, resource usage view. Let me stretch this out. And I'm going to add a couple of columns in here. First column I need is the budget work column. So I'm going to float in here, type the letter C. I know I said budget work, but there it is. Yeah, when I type the letter C, it takes me to the C's, and hey, look, just up above it, there's budget work. And I also need budget cost. So I'll do the same thing. Float in here, type the letter C, scroll up 1, 2 clicks. It's faster than going to the B's and scrolling all the way to the bottom. Let me bring those columns in just a little bit. And once our columns are in, we'll move down the page and we'll find our budget items. And again, our budget items are showing up because we've got resource usage view. Resource usage view gives us the resources and where we use them. So we're using these resources on the training manual. So now we can enter in the values for the training manual. So for the budget, for labor, let's say we've got 650 hours. For material, that's our paper, maybe it's 6 reams. And maybe for our budget miscellaneous, maybe 1750. So we enter in these values, and again, what will happen is now when we run our reports, we've got our overall budget in project. So we can now compare our budget to our plan, to our actuals, to see if we are on schedule as far as the budget goes, ahead of schedule, behind schedule, as far as the budget goes. That's a big help. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. I feel like this is a question I get almost every time I bring a finish date to someone. Can we have it done any sooner? So yes, you see here my finish date is July 15th. So I bring that to the person I'm working with. Hey, we're going to be done on July 15th, and they say, without fail, can we get it done any sooner? Ah. Well, let's take a look. There are some things that we can look for to maybe make that finish date just a little bit sooner. One of the things we look for are constraints. And you can see down here in line 13, it tells me this task has a start no earlier than constraint on Wednesday 5/21. So if I select that task and I scroll to it, I can see that there is kind of a delay. Yeah, the task ahead of it finishes on 5/19, and then we've got a couple of days of nothing, and then this task begins. So I see that task is assigned to the project manager. What's going on? So maybe I need to get the resource on the phone. Hey, what's going on? What's the delay? Why can't we start sooner? We're ready for you on the 19th or the 20th. What's the delay? So if there's, of course, a legitimate reason, then we know. If there's maybe someone we can replace them with, that's an option. Or maybe the constraint was put in accidentally, or situations have changed. We work it out. And let's say in this situation, we talk to the resource and they say, I have no idea what that's all about. I don't need to wait till the 21st. Perfect. So we can remove the constraint. So let me give a double click to the task. Let me move the window down because you can see our project finish date is 7/15. If I head to the Advanced tab, set the constraint back to as soon as possible, take out the constraint date by selecting and pressing delete. When I click OK, does that impact my finish date? The task can start sooner. And backed it up by a day, so we've gained a day. That's terrific. What else? Well, let me save my work and continue down the window. I want to look for situations like this. And let me scroll to task. I've got this task, spell check, and this task, technical editing. They're both assigned to editor 1. If I take a closer look at the tasks, I can see that this task has a 40% lead time on it, which means it can start 40% earlier than when it's scheduled. But the system is not letting us back it up because it would cause a problem. Yeah, editor number 1 can't do both tasks at the same time. So maybe we assign the second task to editor number 2. And let's see if that makes a difference. So I select the task. I can head up to the Resource tab, assign resources. I would like to take editor 1 and replace with editor 2. Okay. Oh, and I'm seeing blue highlighting, letting me know there are changes. Let me close the dialog box, and I can see that it did back up. And if I scroll back up to the top, my project finish date comes all the way back to the 11th. So we look for things like this, ways to shorten the project's duration. One more way. Let's take a look at this big task here, 25-day task. And with the 25-day task, I can see that I've got writer 1 and writer 2 both assigned to complete this task. If I talk to writer number 1 and writer number 2 and I ask them, are you both working on it together, collaborating together? And if they are, right, maybe there's nothing we can do. But if I talk to them and they're writing the content of this training manual we're building, and they say, no, writer number 1's going to write some of the modules, writer number 2 is going to write some of the modules. Can you both write at the same time? Do you need to see what the other person wrote before you can write yours? Well, no, because you've got the outline, so you know what you're writing. We usually don't have to see what the other person does. We know the gist of what they're going to write. So what if they wrote together simultaneously? Yeah, so instead of 25 days, maybe 12 and a half days. Oh, yeah, if we could find things like this, it's a big help. Now, it's not always the case, but when it does work out, we can break the task into 2. So if I select a row and I insert a task, and I call this one write lessons, and maybe it's, modules 6 through 10 for 12 and a half days. And maybe this task will have start at the same time as the task above it. So I'll give it a double click. On the Predecessors tab, I'll change the type to start, and I'll assign it to writer number 2. Okay. Now it does back it up, start to start. It gives me a lot of red going on in here, but we'll get this fixed up because the write lessons for the first half, we need to fix that up. So let me adjust the name. I just clicked in there once or twice, and they're going to write modules 1 through 5. All right, it's going to be 12 and a half days, and I need it to only be writer number 1. So I could double click and go into the resource sheet like you just saw me do with the write lessons 6 through 10, but remember, we can always go up to the resource button, assign resources, pick writer 2, and remove, and close. And now writer number 1, if I scroll out to the right, writer number 1 is doing the first task, writer number 2 is doing the second task. They are linked as a start to start. You can see the line comes out of the front, start to start. And if I scroll up to the top, my project finish date came in from July 11th to June 23rd. Whoa! So, when you can find things like that, we can find things like that. But it doesn't always work out that beautifully. But keep in mind, it's something to think about. It's something to prepare for. And when you find it, it can be a big time saver. So lots of different ways to get it done. We have to look at all of them and find the ones that fit our plan. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. When you build any project plan, you should record your baseline before you start marking tasks complete. By recording a baseline, you have a record of where your project started. For example, take a look with me. We'll head up to the Project tab and into Project Information. Down at the bottom, I hit Statistics, and it'll show me the project statistics. So it shows me my current, planned start, and planned finish. My baseline is set to NA because I haven't recorded it yet. My actuals are set to NA because we haven't actually started a task, so I don't actually have a start date yet. And my variance is 0. There's no difference between the plan and the actuals. Down at the bottom, I have duration, work, and cost. Again, the current goes with my plan. So the way that I've set up my project plan and project, this is what I'm planning. 36.9 days, 448 hours, and a cost of $13,924. My baselines are all 0 because I haven't recorded it yet, and my actuals are 0 because we haven't actually started, so I don't have any actual values in place. When I record the baseline, it will copy the currents into the baseline row. We do this when we have the plan perfect. So we've built the plan, we've linked the tasks, we've assigned the resources, everything is good to go. The plan is perfect. All we're doing now is really waiting for the first task to get underway. That's the time to set the baseline because it'll take those currents, move them into the baseline row, and now we have an actual permanent record of where we started. Over the life of your plan, the currents may change. As tasks finish late or finish early, it's going to shift the current. The baseline will always stay put. As tasks maybe need additional resources to get completed, or we add an additional task, things will change. The values in the current row will change. The actuals will change. The baseline will always stay the same. So when you're done with the plan and we want to know, what did we think we were going to do and what did we actually do? You can compare the baseline to your actuals and always know. So there you can see, no baseline recorded, nothing up my sleeve. To record the baseline, we head up to the Project tab, Schedule Group, Set Baseline, and Set Baseline. So I'm setting the baseline for my entire project, and I click OK. That's all there is to it. And if we go check out the project information again, Project tab, Project Information, you'll see in the statistics that it did what I said. It copied the current into the baseline, copied the current into the baseline, and the baseline is the baseline. It will always remain the same. So you always have that to compare back to. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Once your plan gets underway, we need to start entering in the progress. We need to start marking tasks complete. We need to regularly do this so that when we run reports, the reports show us relevant information. So I can mark tasks complete right here in Gantt chart view, right here in the entry table, I can do it. So if I select a task and I head up to the task tab at the top, in the schedule group, we've got buttons here that I can easily mark tasks from anywhere from 0% to 100% complete. So if I give a click, it'll mark the task 100% complete and give me the check mark. Pick a task, mark it 100% complete. Now before I hit this button, I want you to take a look at the Gantt bar and see how it looks, blue box. When I hit the 100% button, you'll notice that it's still a blue box, but it gets a line straight through it, 100% of the way through it, to let us know we are 100% complete. If I marked it 50% complete, the line would only go 50% of the way, and we get the check mark on the left. This is all fine and good. Sometimes, though, our tasks are a little bit more involved. Sometimes they take longer than planned. What do we do then? We use the tracking table. So to get to the tracking table, we head to the View tab at the top, Data Group, Tables, and Tracking. Tracking table is a good one. If I stretch it out just a little bit further and stretch out my task names just a little bit further, we can see a little bit more in here. So you can see it gives us the actual starts and the actual finishes. These are the tasks that I actually marked complete. Before I marked them complete, they were all NA. So once I marked them 100% complete, they got an actual start date, an actual finish, an actual percent complete. And if I have tasks that I'd like to mark underway, I can still come in here, select the task, and use the 100% button. Back to the Task tab, 100%. I can do it that way. I can also go into a task here and change the percent complete to 100 and press Enter. Well, I like the button better. But what if I marked the task 100% complete and we realized it is 100% complete, but they required an extra day? What do we do then? Well, it depends when you talk to them. Let's say I talked to the resource and they said to me, well, we did put in the day that you gave us, so I marked it 100% complete really quick. And then they say, but we needed another day. So one more day, we're going to work on this. I could change the remaining duration to 1D for day, press Enter, and you'll see it automatically bumps it down to 50% complete, removes the actual finish because it's not done yet. So this is a nice view because we can make those adjustments. And if I talk to them the next day and they say, yes, we're really done now, I can use the 100% complete button to mark it 100% complete. And for the next task, talk to the resources. Let me scroll to task. And they've told me they're about halfway done. So again, the 50% button. The task is given a start, no finish yet, 50% complete, and we can see on the Gantt bar that it's not all the way across. There is a remaining duration, so you can make all of your adjustments in here when the tasks finish early, when they finish late, when they need more time, or even when they happen to finish right on schedule. Just mark them 100% complete. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. And every once in a while, we bump into weird situations. Maybe a task has started, there was a delay in the middle, and then the task resumes. How do we put that in? Right? Because if the task was scheduled, let's use this one, to start on May 6th and finish on May 12th, What if it was started on May 6th and there was some delay in the middle and it finished on May 14th? It didn't take 2 days extra of work, took 2 days extra of time, but we weren't actually working on it. So the duration of the task isn't increased. It was still 4 days worth of work, but spread over 6 days. What do we do, right? How do I tell Project that so that it calculates correctly so that all of my numbers work out in my reports and my views? Well, I'm going to show you. So here's what we do. 2 ways to get it done. We select the task. We can split the task and we give it a click. We get a big white screen tip that pops up. Keep your eye on that screen tip as I float down over the Gantt bar for the task. Look at the right side of that big white screen tip that's popped up. It shows you the date, Wednesday, May 7th. As I float out further to the right, it shows me Thursday, May 8th, and Friday, May 9th. So where do I need the split? Let's pick Thursday. So I give a click, and it does insert a 1-day break right into the middle of the task. And you can see everybody's pushed out by 1 day. The duration still stays 4 days, even though it's over 5 days. It's 4 days of work, a couple of days of work, a break, a couple of days of work. That's pretty good. Let me undo it because there's another way to get it done. And this second method gives us better control. So let's say in this situation, the task was being worked on and it was about 25% complete. So I use the 25% button. You can see it's 25% complete. And then there was a delay. And the remainder of the task has to all be pushed back a few days, not just one like the split, a few days. We select the task, head to the Project tab, into the Status group, and we choose Update Project. Here I can reschedule the uncompleted work of the selected task. Make sure we pick that. The uncompleted work of the selected task for when. So I'm looking for it to start after, and we're talking about May here. So let me get to May. And let's say after May 9th. So if it starts after May 9th, that's the Friday. After May 9th, the Friday would be Monday. So push everything that's not completed to begin on Monday. All right, let's take a look before I click anything else. My projected finish date right now is June 24th. Here's my task. There's the Gantt bar. I click OK. There is my big split. And you can see it did push the finish date out. It pushed the finish date out, but the duration has stayed 4 days. It's 4 days of work over a longer time period. And by doing it this way, either with the split or with the reschedule, the reports will know it's still 4 days of work. Even though it did start on the 6th and finish on the 14th, there were only 4 days of work in those days. That's the way to do it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. And what do we do when prices change in the middle of our plan? We've been using Writer 1 all over the place, and we've got them planned to be used all over the place. What happens when Writer number 1 gets a raise in the middle of our plan? How do we ensure that tasks before the raise are charged at the old rate, tasks assigned after the raise are at the new rate? Let me show you what we're going to do. We'll head into the resource sheet first. So up to the View tab and into Resource Sheet. And we find Writer number 1. Well, you can see Writer number 1 currently has a standard rate of $30 an hour, $33 for overtime. if we were to change it right here to the new rate, it would change all the previous stuff to the new rate, all the future stuff to the new rate. We don't want to do that. We double click on the resource to get into the resource information. We head to the cost tab, and on the cost tab we can see that their standard rate shows here, $30. Again, not going to change it here because that would do the same thing as if we changed it on the sheet. What we'll do is put in an effective date of when the raise goes into effect. So I'll pick May 15th. And I could type in a new number, so if they told me it was going to be 33 or 35 or whatever, I could put it in. But let's say what I've heard is they're getting a 10% raise. Nice. I can type in plus 10%, and when I press tab, it'll calculate for me. Yeah, and I can do the same thing for the overtime rate. Plus 10%, I press tab, and it'll calculate for me. So now the new rate goes into effect on May 15th. Let's see where May 15th falls in our plan. So I click OK, head back to Gantt chart view, and where is May 15th? It's right here in the middle of this task. Oh my. And this task is all assigned to writer 1. What if we take a look at the cost table? Up to the View tab, Tables, Cost. And in the cost table, again, I can look at this task. This task here, Prepare Outline, is the one that's assigned to writer number 1. So I can see the total cost and any of the other tasks that are assigned to writer number 1 down here. Incorporate the feedback. These are all calculated at the new rate. So anything after May 15th, new rate. Anything before May 15th, old rate. That's one scenario. Let me head back to the entry table. And let's take a look at another situation. Down at the bottom of our plan, we have some printing. And we have purchased some paper. All right, we're printing the proof. We're printing the final copy. We have already purchased the paper to print the proof. That's a tongue twister. And now we're contacting the vendor and we need to purchase the same paper for the final copy. And they tell us they're out of paper. They don't have it. We have to go to another vendor. The other vendor, of course, charges us a different rate. How do we put that into our plan? We have the same problem. If we go into the resource sheet and we just change the price of the paper, that'll change it for all instances. We just need to change it for this instance. So what's the rate for the paper? Let's take a quick peek at the resource sheet. Paper is here, $6.50. So we paid $6.50 for the first ream. The second ream we're purchasing, let's say it's going to be $7.50. All right, here's how we enter this one in. We also double click on the resource, but we don't put it in on the A tab, because the A tab, we use that on the resource when it was an increase on a specific date. So if they told us, hey, January 1st, the rate of the paper, it's going up from $6.50 to $7, we would put it here on tab A, and then starting January 1st, paper would be calculated at the new rate. That's not what's happening here. Here we're going to a different vendor for maybe this one instance, and then all the other paper we'll buy from vendor A. We go to the B tab. On the B tab, I can put in the rate of $7.50. And what I should also do is use the Notes tab. Yes, use the Notes tab so you know that cost rate table A equals, right, vendor A, whoever they are. ABC paper, right? And then cost rate table B equals whoever vendor B is, right? Maybe they're XYZ paper. Put it in here, and then that way you always know. There is no way to change the names on the tabs. So that's what we use the notes tab for, so we know A is ABC, B is XYZ, perfect. Now, how do we tell project that one task is using paper at rate A and one task is using paper at rate B? Here's what we do. So let's head into task usage view. So up to the view tab, into the task views group, and let's pick task usage, because task usage view will show us all the tasks and the resources used to complete them. So we were looking at the bottom of our plan, so let's head all the way down to the bottom of the plan. These tasks were at the very bottom. So here you can see that we have the task, right, printing the proof, and there's paper. This paper, like we said, this paper was bought at the original rate, so we're doing nothing with it. The paper down here towards the bottom, this one, is the one that we have to purchase from vendor B and pay a little bit more. So I find the resource in the right instance, give it a double click, and the assignment information pops up. Down here, cost rate table. Which cost rate table would we like? So yes, when I pick cost rate table B, now the cost will be used from the B tab. I click OK, and we've got one at A and one at B. So different ways to handle it in different situations. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. It can be helpful to know that you can sort the tasks into different orders. Now we have lots of different views. We've talked about lots of different views, lots of different places to get your data. The sort option works everywhere. So we head up to the View tab, into the data group, and here's the sort button. And you can see right off the bat we can sort by start date or finish date or priority or cost or ID. And if none of those work for you, you can even choose to sort by and make your own picks. You can do 3 levels of sort. They can be ascending or descending. And every column is available. Oh my. Yeah, you have lots and lots of choices in here. So let's say I'm just interested in sorting by task name. I pick it, I'll go ascending, and that's all I want. I click sort, and you can see it'll mix the tasks up and sort them ascending by name. Notice the ID numbers remain, so you always know which task is which task by its number. All right, 2 and 3, they're in here. But they are mixed up and sorted by task name. I can easily put them back by choosing sort and ID number. And we're back. So keep that in mind. It's a good one to know about. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Filtering is also very helpful. When we have a project with a lot of tasks, we don't always need to see everything. Filter, hide what you don't want to see, show what you do want to see. So if we head up to the View tab and we go into the filter group here, filter, it says no filter, we've got lots of choices in here. And keep in mind, these will work in all sorts of table views, not just here. All over the place. Give it a shot. So let's say I'm interested in seeing just the critical tasks. I pick it, and it shows me just the critical tasks. I head back up, use the drop down arrow. Maybe I'm interested in just seeing the milestones. I pick it, and that's what I'm seeing. Let me go back to no filter to bring all the tasks back and show you one of my favorite. Back to the filter list, using resource. Let's say I'm on the phone with writer number 2. We've used writer number 2 a few times throughout the project plan. Which tasks is writer number 2 assigned to? I pick them. I click OK, and ta-da! There they are. Writer number 2 on row 10, writer number 2 on row 18. That's pretty good. Yeah, I might want to print one of those out for everybody that's working on the project. So I'll go back for no filter to bring them all back. Yes, keep that one in mind, the filter. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Grouping can help us see our information in, well, groups. Let's check out what I mean there. So I'll head up to the View tab, into the Data group, and look at the group list. A lot of choices in here. Let's say we're interested in seeing tasks that are critical and non-critical grouped that way. So I choose critical and look at the window. This is pretty neat. So I've got critical no, so it shows me all the non-critical tasks, and then a critical yes group with all of the yes critical tasks listed. Look at the roll-up. So of the critical tasks, 28.4 days in duration. The non-critical took 9.5 days. Little triangle to the left of critical, that's called a twisty. If I give it a click, it'll twist and collapse the group down to a single line. And I can expand them as well. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Let's go back to the grouping list and let's try a different group. What about grouping by resource? Give it a shot. Oh, this is a good one too. Look at Editor 1, Editor 2, Printer and Paper, Project Manager. It's grouping them just like it said, by resource. Oh, I like this one. I like this one. And of course, each bold line shows me the roll-up. So writer number 2, using them for a total of 12.5 days. Writer number 1, 33.9 days. The bold line gives me roll-up. And again, this is the entry table. If you're in a different table with different information, like cost information, it's going to roll up. This is a good one. And if we decide we don't want to see grouping anymore, we go back to the grouping drop-down and we choose no group. And that gives us back our data as it was originally displayed. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Highlighting can be pretty handy as well, because it does what it sounds like it does. It highlights the rows that match the criteria. So let's check it out. We'll head up to the View tab, into the Data group, and it says no highlight, and you can see we have no highlight going on. Look at the list of choices. Highlight the active tasks, or the completed, or the critical. Ooh, critical. Maybe I'll try that one. Wow, that's some highlighting. That is hard to miss. What else can we do? What about incomplete tasks or late tasks? Those would be pretty good. Milestones. We talked about milestones in one of the first lessons. Sometimes we use milestones to mark the beginning and the end of the project, or the beginning and the end of the phase. If you've used it for the phases, this can be really good because it'll highlight the line and make it really easy for you to see where your different phases start and end. I only used it at the beginning and the end of the project, so it's not as handy for me. What else? How about that one? Yes, using resource. I know I've used writer number 2 a couple of times throughout the plan. Where? Make it obvious. Highlight the tasks that use writer number 2. So when I choose it and I pick writer number 2, click OK. Oh yeah. Look at that. It jumps right out and I can easily see line 10 and line 18. And as I scroll the rest of the plan, nowhere else. Oh, I like that. That is really, really handy. I'll put it back to no highlight to remove all the highlighting. And it's clear. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. The more you use Project, the more you start to realize I'm flipping from view A to view B, A to B, A to B. And we have those wishes in the back of our mind. I wish I could have all of that in one window, so I didn't have to flip A to B, A to B. Well, let me make that wish come true. Here we go. We're going to create our own custom view. And the way we do it is by heading to the View tab. Isn't that perfect? Right? Create a custom view, head to the View tab, and I'm going to head to Other Views, More Views. There are a lot of views to choose from, but again, when the view you need doesn't exist, make your own. So I click the New button to create my own new and single view. I'm going to start with a single view. A single view lets me put one table on the left and one chart on the right. So I'll start with a single. Let me click OK. It asks me for a name, so I will name it, and I do name it in all capital letters. It's easier to pick out your custom creations if you type in all caps. All right, what do I want on the left? And what do I want on the right? You decide. We make our choices in here. So for the screen, look at all my choices. That's for the right side. I'm going to stick with the Gantt chart. And then which table on the left? Well, since I'm making a cost view, the cost table might be pretty handy for me. And then the grouping and the filtering. We can pick anything we'd like in here, but if you decide you don't want any grouping, you do need to pick no group. It makes you pick something. So if you want no grouping, make sure you pick no grouping. For filtering, again, lots of choices. Make your pick, and if you want to see everything, choose all. I pick OK. My view pops in, and I click Apply. And this does give me, let me scroll to task. It does give me what I asked for. This is the cost table on the left and the Gantt on the right. But I'm not done yet. I want more. So let me use this as the basis for my four-way split. Back up to the View tab, back into Other Views, down to More Views. Go for New. This time the combination view lets me split the window 4 ways. I need to give it a name, and I'll name it in all caps. Pick my primary view. Right, there's the view I created. Remember I mentioned type it in all caps. It's so much easier to find, easier to pop out. Well, I don't want that for the primary view. I think for the primary view I'll go with task usage, and for the details pane I'll go with cost view. I'll click OK. There it is. Click Apply. And the window needs a little bit of cleaning up. So first move, Task tab, scroll to Task. Let me drag the divide lines around. And let's see what's going on in here. If I select a task, and I scroll to that task, I can see the task details here, task details out here, down at the bottom, my cost information, and my Gantt bar. Let me drag the divide line out to the right just a little bit further. And let's see a little bit more detail here. This is really, really helpful. All right, as I look at any of the tasks, I can select, scroll to the task, and I can see the details and the dates on the timeline. Down at the bottom, I can see the cost-related information and the Gantt bar that goes with it. If I pick a task that's not yet been completed, scroll to task. I can see those details, total cost, balance remaining. Gantt bar shows me it's not done yet. This is my own custom view. And it can save me from flipping back and forth between the cost table and the Gantt chart, the task usage view, and the Gantt chart. It's all in one place. Oh, this is pretty good. So when the view you need doesn't exist, make your own view. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. In the previous lesson, we created our own custom view. What if I need to change the name? What if I need to make adjustments to it? What if? Well, there are ways that we can update, adjust, delete, and even copy them. First move is to always head to the View tab and into Other Views. When we head into More Views, we do have the ability to select our view. I called it Cost Info. And in here, I've got the Edit button and I've got the Copy button. So to edit my view, I pick Edit, and it lets me change the name. So maybe after I've created it, I thought, cost info, I have cost info, I have cost view. Which is which? So let's say I want to change the name of this to task usage with cost data. That might be better. So I can change the name in here. I could change the views if I'd like to, but I don't need to. I click OK, and it's updated. Wonderful. Also, as far as the copying goes, well, if I like that, but I'd like to adjust it just a little bit, I need another view that's very similar. Don't start over. Pick this one, copy it, start from here, change the name, change whatever piece you need, and click OK. Don't start from scratch. You can spend a lot of time building views. If you need another view that's similar, copy an existing view and then update it. But what about if I've created a view and I need to delete it? Or I've created a view and I want to make sure that it's in another file or not in another file. That's the organizer. If I head into the organizer shows me everything. So here is my task usage with cost data. If I don't see it in another file, this is global.mpt. Global is the global template that goes with a new blank project plan. You'll see that we've got them going in automatically. So I don't need to do that. I don't need to take them from my file and copy them into global MPT, but sometimes I build views that are just, specific to a particular plan. I don't want them to go into every new plan. I can pick them, I can delete them, and it's gone. I can pick them, I can rename them. And of course, if I bump into anything that has not automatically been copied over, I can pick it and copy it over into global.mpt or into any other open file that I might want to share it with. So the organizer is pretty handy, and this is just the Views tab. Oh boy. Yes, there are many other tabs that allow us to work with other custom creations and copy them from one to another. So anytime you build anything custom in Project, don't create it in one file, then go to the next file, create it again. Go to the next file, create it again. No, you're working too hard. Create it once, come into the organizer, and copy it into global.mpt. It'll become available in all your project plans. The organizer, it's a good one to know about. Close button is here, and I can close again and know that I'm able to edit and copy any of my custom creations right through there. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Many times we have important supporting documentation that we have to keep in mind while we're working the project. Sometimes it would be helpful if it was easier to find. So instead of having to remember where you saved it on your computer or out on the network, what if we used a hyperlink? Yeah, what if we attached it right to the project plan, even right to the task that it related? Oh, this could be good. So let's say it's the interview subject matter expert task, and we've got a document that has their contact information. Would be pretty handy if it was attached right here and we could pick it right from here. So to attach it, we select the task that it relates to, and we right-click. So I give it a right-click right there on the task. All the way down at the bottom is hyperlink. The Insert Hyperlink dialog box opens, and if you've used hyperlinks in any of the other Microsoft products, you see it's the same. If you haven't, well then guess what? You learn it here, you'll know how to do it in all the Microsoft programs. So down the left side you can see that we can link to different things: existing files or web page, place in this document, new documents, even email addresses. What do we need? It's an existing file. So that's the button we select, and then where are we looking for it? You can use the drop-down arrow and navigate to wherever you need to go. For me it is the Documents folder, so I don't need to go anywhere. I pick the file. That's it. I click OK, and it pops the hyperlink indicator right there in the indicators column. If I float over it, look at the screen tip. Now, if you don't know that that is a hyperlink indicator, you might look at the screen tip and go, what does that mean? We can make that better. Let's right-click, go down to hyperlink, and let's edit the hyperlink. We can edit the screen tip by going into the top right corner. We can also come in here and pick a different file if we link to the wrong file. That happens from time to time as well. But let's go for screen tip. And how about something like that? Click here to view the subject matter expert's contact info. So I type it in, I click OK, I click OK again, and point. That's better. Click here to view the subject matter expert's contact information. So if I point my mouse right to the indicator, you'll notice I get that internet pointing hand. Ah, that looks familiar. We know when we see that it's clickable. So I give it a click. It does warn me, hey, you're trying to open a file. Do you know where this file came from? We do. We want to continue. We know it's safe. So we say yes, give the second, and the file will pop right up. And there it is. Let me close out of it, and keep in mind, the best part about it It's related to the task. So no more digging around to find it. It's there. And you can do this on one task. You can do it on all the tasks. Put the related information with the item so it's easy to find. No digging, no searching. It's right there. Love it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Now, as we've seen, there are lots of different views and lots of different tables where we can view our information. The only problem we have with viewing the information in a table type layout is we actually have to read it and analyze it and think about it. And then we'll know what the results are saying. Charts. Charts are the answer. We love charts because charts, if we have a sales chart and we see the columns getting taller, we know sales are going up, up, up. If we have an expenses chart and the columns get smaller and smaller, the expenses are going down, down, down. Charts are the answer. Charts make it so much easier to understand the data at a glance. We can chart our project plan. If we head up to the Report tab and out into Visual Reports, look, it's a chart. If I give it a click, there are a number of built-in reports that are available. We have different tabs, and it organizes them so you know if you go to task usage, we've got a cash flow report. If you go to resource usage, we have a couple related to resource usage. So you can click around and see the categories that they fall into. You can give them a click and kind of see what it looks like. You decide how you want to view the data. And then you click View. And Project will compile the information and throw you actually over into Excel. Hold on, here we go. Throw you into Excel and let you view it in a chart. Now it's kind of big, so let me head down here into the bottom corner, hit the minus sign a couple of times to zoom out, and look at what we're seeing. The budget cost report lets me compare the budget cost to the baseline cost, to the cost, to the actual, so I can see where we are. My budget's all the way up here. It's bigger than any of the other columns. That's a good sign. We haven't overspent. All right, my baseline though is a little bit lower. All right, so that was my original plan before we started with the project. I thought that's where we would be, and you can see in the screen tip, $13,912. The cost column shows me what my plan is saying now. My plan right now is saying that we're going to spend $14,884. A little bit higher than the baseline, but lower than the budget. Whew, it's cutting it close. And then the actual shows me what we've actually already done. That's what we've actually already spent, $61.48. Yeah, so the reports are great. And when you're done viewing your visual report, you can use the X in the top right corner to close out of it, save or not save. That'll take you back into project. So if you're done, you close the dialog box and you're done. Now the different reports that are listed here, as you see, we get little pictures, but we don't get much of an explanation, just the name of the tab, so they get categorized. If you're interested in more information, of course, Microsoft's website is a great resource for that. And if you do a search on available visual reports, you'll get the different categories with the different report names. And you can scroll through and read all about them. So there is a lot of information. Microsoft's website is a great resource for everything, but the search box is usually the easiest way to find what you're looking for. Go to Microsoft.com, type in available visual reports. It'll take you right to this, and you can read all about them, or you can always come here and read as well. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Once we've created our visual report, now it's time to customize it. This is great, but it can get better. The first thing we do is we notice that it did throw us into Excel. And if you know Excel, oh boy, this is really great because this is a pivot chart. If you haven't worked with pivot charts, oh, they are great. If I click on the chart, notice the right pane that pops up, my pivot chart fields. This shows me with the check marks the pieces that are included in my pivot chart. I can easily check and uncheck pieces if I want to see them or if I don't want to see them. If I uncheck budget cost is my darkest blue column, first one. If I uncheck it, it will remove itself from the chart. Wow, yeah. And if I check it again, it comes back. And you'll notice that it did pop in a different spot out here on the end, but that's okay. As I move down the pivot field list, lots of choices. I can check and uncheck the different pieces that I want. I can customize it and make it anything I'd like it to be. I'm thinking about resources. Wouldn't it be great to see some resources in here and be able to see their numbers? So I check the box next to resources. Wow. Now this is busy. It's gotten small, but let's see what we can do here. I like being able to see writer number 1 and be able to see the information about writer number 1 and writer number 2. But there's some things in here I don't need to see, like unassigned. Maybe I don't need to see paper or the budget items. So what I can do is head back over into the field list, use the drop down arrow next to resources, and I can uncheck all the things that I don't want to be a part of the chart. Oh, this is good. So let me head down to the bottom and uncheck a bunch of them. Don't want them, don't want them, don't want them, don't want them. And maybe I'll leave those in. When I click OK, watch the chart update. Oh, this is good. This is really good. So now I can see how each resource compares, and it's graphical, so it's easy for us to see. It's easy to understand. I like this. My baseline compared to my plan, compared to my actual. Very easy to see. And of course the screen tips help out just a little bit there as well. So when you get in here and you start with any of the existing visual reports, remember, you can always customize it further. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. After we've done our customization, which can take some time, we may think, what if I need this report again? What if I want this again? Do I have to build it all from scratch? No, you can save it as a template. So what we want to do is kind of set the window up the way we would like it to appear if it was used again. So I'm going to click away out here outside the edge of the chart. By clicking away, you can see that the field list on the right disappears. So that looks a little bit better. I like it just like this. Now it's time to save it as a template. So I do head up to the File tab, and I head in to Save As, just like I was going to save it as any file. I navigate to the place I'd like to save, maybe my Documents folder. And the key here is to change the Save As type. I need to save it as a template. Now normally when we work in Excel and we save something as a template, we want it to be saved in this templates folder where it takes us. But here's the thing that's different with Project. We have to tell Project where to find the templates. So generally what we do is we create a central folder, maybe on your computer, maybe on the company's network somewhere, and we put all the templates in that location. And then we connect Project to that location. All the templates are there. So I've got it saving as an Excel template. I'll navigate, in my case, to my Documents library, and I'll give the template a name. All right, my template really showed me cost data by resource. Cost data by resource. So I give it a good name, I make sure I know where I'm saving it in my Documents folder, and I save. It has a question for me. It says the workbook contains external data. Do you want Excel to clear the data before saving the template and then automatically refresh the data whenever the template is opened? We do. If you don't say yes, every time you open it, it'll show the data that's in there now. That's good for me today, but next week, my project plan will be updated. Next week, I'll need to see next week's data. So if we say yes, it'll clear this data, and every time we use it, it'll give us the most recent data. Next move, we close Excel. It takes me back into the Visual Reports window, and here's where we go. The next time we want to use it, we need to include the templates from, and we navigate to that location. So I need to go into My Documents, and it should be listed in here. Yeah, we don't see it, which makes it kind of weird, but that's what you pick. You pick the location and click OK. I know it's weird, but if you take a look, look who has joined the party. This is it. That's what I named it. Cost data by resources. So now this connection is made and it'll be remembered. So every time we come into Visual Reports from here on, this will pop in, and any of the templates that are saved to that location, to my Documents, will automatically pop in the list. And from here on, I pick them, I view it, it'll grab the most recent data, and my pivot chart. It's all done. It's exactly the way I needed it. And of course, I can then go and continue to customize, just like we saw in the previous lesson. So yeah, build it. Spend the time. Make it perfect. Save it as a template. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Keeping in mind that project is a tool that assists you in project management, keeping in mind that we build the plan and we must update it on a regular basis, keeping all of that in mind, let's check out the reports. The reports are of no use to you if you do not update the plan. The reports give us a way that we can reach into project and say, show me the information you have. Show it to me one way, show it to me another way. If we don't update the plan, the reports really don't show us anything. But once your plan is updated, oh my, we've got some good stuff in here. So we've headed to the Report tab, and we've got the View Reports group. And there are many reports that are pre-created. We pick them, and they display the data. So if I go into the dashboards and I pick the cost overview, look at what I get. Yeah, I get a true cost overview. This is where we are today. And again, because I've gone into the plan, I've updated it, project can show me the cost overview as of today. Look at all of this information. And this is just one report. Let's head up to the Report tab again, into the dashboards. How about the whole project overview? Why not? So we can see exactly where we are. Back to the Report tab. All right, so those are some dashboards. There are a few more. We have resource reports. How about a resource overview? Well, this is very nice. As I move down the window, I can see each resource's status. So many reports pre-created for us. It's just up to us to pick it. And the key to all of these reports, remember, build the plan, update the plan. Update the plan on a regular basis, and the reports are going to help you see where you are, where you're headed. So many choices in here, and again, the ability to create new reports, custom reports, or get quickly to your recent reports as well, where we can just pop right in, get back to them very quickly. The key is update the plan. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Many times we find ourselves working in project and we wish we could print out what we're seeing on our screen. Well, let me help you make that wish come true. If I'm interested in printing out the task names with the Gantt next to it, we can do that. Your first step is to arrange the window so that it looks the way you wish it would print out. So I adjust my columns and I get my Gantt in view. And if I need to, remember down here we can zoom in or zoom out. So if I zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit smaller, well, I can get it in the window. How about that? Adjust it so you're viewing on screen what you would love to see come out of the printer. And then we head up to the File tab and we go into Print. And look at what we get here. It shows me a print preview of, yes, the window as I arranged it. So the tasks are there and the Gantt is in view. It also gives me a nice little legend at the bottom that helps describe what we're seeing. If I give it a click, you'll see I can zoom in and see what the legend shows me. I can scroll back and forth, view all the details. And of course, I can click back on it to zoom all the way back out. Well, that's perfect. And I'm seeing down here in the bottom, page 1 of 2. Well, let's see, what is page 2 showing me? Oh, yes, the rest of it. So yes, we can print what we're viewing on screen. Arrange it the way that you'd like it to show up, and then come right into print. We have the ability in here to go through and print the entire project, or maybe just specific dates, specific pages, custom dates and custom pages. So you get to decide, is it what I'm seeing on screen, or is it just May 1st through May 31st? We could make that adjustment. And of course, paper size, orientation, all that good stuff as well. When you're in that spot, let me have this on a paper. Here you go. We've got it. Our next move would be to click print and then wait for it to come out of the printer. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Maybe you've looked at all the different reports that come with project, and they're great. But there's something that you need that's not already created. What do? We create our own. So in here, we'll see that we can create our own table-style custom report. And to get started, we will head up to the Report tab. In the View Reports group, a lot of reports here, a lot of good ones, but there is the New Report button, and we can create a new table-style report. When we choose it, the first thing it does is it asks us for a name. So let's say that our report are going to show the actuals by the summary tasks. So I give it a good name that makes sense, and I click OK. This is where we start. And this is just our start. First move for me, I'm coming down into the bottom corner and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And my focus is on the field list on the right side of the window. If I look in here, we have lots of different fields, and by checking the different fields, they can be added into our table. And of course, if we've added some fields in we don't like, we uncheck them. So it's not that big a deal. Check them if you like it, keep them if you don't. Uncheck them and they go away. So let's say I'm looking down the window and I'm thinking that I would like to add in maybe, it's all actual values. How about if I could find the actual work column? So I'm looking down the list and here's my work category. Maybe if I expand work, and there it is, actual work. Now watch my table. Right now I get name and start and finish and % complete. When I check actual, I get actual. Now why is it only showing me one row? When I look at this, this reminds me of the project summary. Let me take a look down towards the bottom and see how we're filtered or how we're outlined. My filter is all tasks, but I'm not seeing all the tasks. I look at my group, no grouping. I look at my outline level. Oh, project summary. Right. So if I use the arrow there and say, let me see all the subtasks, it might get really busy. So I'm thinking instead, what if I go with a level 1? So we have the decision. How would we like to view it? I like the level 1. Level 1 gives me my level 1, so my summary tasks. This is pretty good, but I think I'd like to add a little bit more in here. I like actual work, but maybe actual cost might also be good. So let me head back over into my field list and look in my cost group and choose actual cost. It pops in as well. Let me scroll over to the right just a little bit so we can see it. This is great. So again, just picking the different fields that we'd like to add to the table, and they're added. Setting up our own filter, our own grouping, our own outlining. So if I'd like it maybe grouped by, I don't know, critical, we could see what that looks like. Ooh, that's nice too. You decide what works best for you. I'll go back to no group. Once you've got it all figured out, got the columns in that we like, taking out the ones we don't like, how about making it look different color-wise? Yes, we can head up to the Design tab at the top of the window, and the Design tab does give us a lot of choices. Color happens to be one of them. So if I scroll through the list and find a color scheme that I like, give it a click, and how about that? My own custom report in a table style. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Microsoft Project comes with many reports, all pre-built, pre-created for us. We just get to pick them and use them. But if you've clicked around and tried them on and they don't quite do what you need them to do, what do we do now? We build our own. So here we'll take a look at building our own custom report in a chart style layout. So to get started, we head up to the Report tab at the top of the window. And in the View Reports group, where we've got lots of choices, we're headed over for New Reports. And in here you can see there are a few different layouts. This time we're going for Chart. It asks us for a name, so we're going to call this the Chart of Work. The Chart of Work, because we're interested in work figures. So I click OK, and it throws me into a chart. Let me scroll over to the right just a little bit. How about this? So it's currently showing me a chart that shows actual work, remaining work, and work. And you can see that it looks like it's got the different summary tasks listed. Interesting. Over on the right side, we've got the field list where we can go in and check and uncheck the pieces that we'd like to see or not see. And then down below, we've got our filters. So this is showing us the active tasks. We've got grouping, set to no group, and the outline level is level 1, and there is no sorting. So right off the bat, if I go in and make some changes, maybe I'd like to group them by maybe critical tasks. Look at all the choices in here. I'm thinking critical. How about that? Look at this. Critical no, critical yes. Actual work is blue. Remaining work is orange, so no remaining work in the critical no area, but in the critical yes, we've got some work left to do. And then the gray is work. Work is the plan. So our plan shows some on both sides. Maybe I'd like to add the baseline in here as well. I can do that. If I head over into the field list and look down the list, cost, duration, number, work, baseline. Let me expand the baseline group. And how about if I find baseline work? When I check it, watch the chart change. Baseline work comes in as yellow. So my baseline here, ooh, a little bit lower than the plan and a little bit lower than the actual. And for critical yes, looks like we're kind of all even. All right, let me set the group by back to no group. And I can see that additional column has been added, and I can view my baseline compared to my actual, to my remaining, and to my plan. So when a chart doesn't exist that shows what you need, build one. And remember, the field list is very extensive. So let me collapse that group back up. Scroll down and just show a few of the other columns and different categories. Build what you need. Once you've built what you need, how about the Design tab at the top of the window? Well, the Design tab always allows us to adjust the chart style, so don't forget to check back here, change your chart color scheme. And even change your chart style. Lots of choices in here. Find something that works. Yeah, interesting. I know, we'll spend a lot of time back here trying on the different choices, but make it what you need it to be. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. So what do you do when you find yourself in this spot? I like columns from different tables, but I don't want to have to keep flipping table to table to table. So here I'm in my standard entry table. I like this, start and finish. I like seeing the tasks, but I need more. So I head over to the View tab and I go to the tables. I like the baseline table. So if I head in, I take a look at the baseline table. Great, I can see my baseline start and my baseline finish and my baseline work and my baseline cost. But then I also like to see my actual work and my actual cost. So I'm back up to the tables going for cost. Ah, my actual costs. Okay, what about my actual work? Back up and into the work table to see my actual work. Oh, right, this is not the best way to work. Time consuming to flip view to view to view. What if we build our own custom table and we pull in the columns that we want into one table? Save it with a name, and then when I need that table, I view that table. That would make life easier. So, easiest way to build it is if we happen to have a table that we like, that has a lot of the columns we like, we can use that as the starting point. So if I head back into more tables, the baseline table had a lot of columns that I liked. So I'm thinking if I start there and then just add in my actual start, actual finish, actual work, actual cost, that would be the perfect view. So I pick the table and I copy it. If you start with new, of course you can start with new and build from complete scratch, but if I copy an existing table, I've got a starting point. I can delete columns I don't want, add in columns that I do want. Makes it a little bit easier. So I'll choose that, copy, and it asks me for a name of my table. So maybe my name will be baseline to actuals. And I'll look down the list. Is there anything I don't want? Maybe this one. So I pick it and delete it. All right, after the baseline start and finish, maybe right after those columns, I'd like to see the actual. Actual start, actual finish. So if I click here and insert a row, I get 2 blank rows above the selected one. And I can pop in my actual start and my actual finish. All right, I look at the alignment. Everybody else is aligned right. Maybe we should match them. I don't know. Consistency sometimes makes it a little bit easier. Same thing here with the column width. They are 15, we are 10. So maybe I should be at 15 for consistency. Make it look good. All right, what else did I need? I wanted the actuals, actual work and actual cost. Do I want them side by side? Maybe baseline work and then actual? I'll click here and insert a row. Make this my actual work. And again, match everybody else. Let's conform. And for my last one, actual cost. And 14. All right, so that looks pretty good. I like it. All right, checkbox up here, show in menu, makes it easier to find later on. Instead of having to come into this window, it'll show up in the menu choices up here. Check the box, click OK. It's added, and are we ready to see? Let's see. We click apply, and looks like we need a little cleanup in column width there. No big deal. But my baseline start and finish, my actual start and finish, my baseline work and actual work. And yes, if I stretch it out, baseline and actuals. All in one view, no more flipping back and forth, flipping back and forth. I don't have to do that. I've built my own custom table, and I said I would love to see it in the menu, so here it is. If I need to go back to the entry table, ba-ba. If I need to go back to my custom view, da-da. Love it. So when you find yourself in that spot, flipping table to table to table to find the pieces you need, think about building your own table. Put the columns in that you want. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. As you may have seen, it appears that there is a field to hold whatever you need in Project. There are so many fields, but sure enough, if you've searched around and you can't find a field that's already created to hold what you need, you can build one. So let's say in this instance, we have looked around and we need a column to hold like a rating. We want to rate the resources. And I haven't seen anything that holds it. We can build our own custom column. And of course, you don't have to do it just for resources. It can be done anywhere in any view for any reason. The process is all the same. All right, so to build it, what I want to do is insert a new column, and I want to insert that new column to the left of the resource name column. So I click into this column, and when I insert a new column, it goes to the left. To insert a column, I'll go up to the Format tab, and it doesn't matter again which view you're in. It'll be the Format tab. You'll have a columns group, and we'll have the option to insert a column. And I want to call my column rating. So I type it, I press enter, and now I need to customize it, to format it, to make it hold what I want it to hold. And what I'd like to do is have it give me a drop-down list of ratings, and then I can pick them. That would be good. All right, so I'll give that field a right click, and I'm going into Custom Fields. Here it is. Rating. It's a resource column. It's a text field. I want it to hold text, but if you needed it to hold anything else, costs, dates, durations, you would pick. Text is good for me because what I'm thinking again is I'd like a lookup. I'd like a drop-down list where I could pick maybe an A, B, or C rating. We like the A's the best, the C's not so much. So to build that, I'll choose lookup and I'll enter the values in. So maybe it's an A, a B, and a C. To provide additional information, I can put in a description. So maybe an A is highly rated. All right, maybe a B is like a medium rating, and a C, maybe that's a low rating. So I pop them in, and I close the dialog box. And if I left it this way, when I click OK, the drop-down arrow would give me the A, the B, or the C. And I could pick it. This really good. But I think I want to make it a little bit better. I want to have a little bit more fun with it. So I'm thinking instead of the ABC, how about a little graphical indicator? Maybe if it's a green graphic, that would be our A, and yellow would be a B, and a red would be a C. Let's customize it a little bit further. So I right-click on it again, go back into Custom Fields. It's still selected, perfect. And I'll head down to the bottom for graphical indicators. So you could leave it just as text. You could have made a text field where you just typed things in. We're going to be a little fancy in here. So I choose graphical indicators, and I'm going to say my test is if it equals the A. Then I want the graphic to be, well, look at all the choices. Oh, there's a lot to pick from in here. So let's say I'll go with the green. Green for the A. And for my B, let's grab that. Equals a B. We'll go with a yellow. And if it equals the C, that'll be red. And I click OK. Watch them as I click OK again. This is fun, right? So now when I go in and I pick a rating, it still shows me the ABC. And when I pick, I get the graphical indicator. So create a column. If you can't find one to hold what you need, create one. Could be text, could be numeric, could be a lookup, could have graphical indicators. So you're not stuck when you can't find a column to hold what you need. Build it. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Sometimes the plans that we create are very similar to plans we've created in the past. And sometimes these plans we're creating are also going to be very similar to plans in the future. So this is a time to stop and think, I'm creating this project plan. It's perfect. I've got the tasks in, I've got the durations in, I've got the resources in and the resource assignments down. Is there a chance that this plan will be so similar to a plan that I have in the future that I would love to start from this point? If the answer is yes, then save it as a template. If the answer is, maybe, save it as a template. It's always worth the save, because down the road when you have another project come up and the plan is similar, instead of having to recreate it, you can just use the template that you saved. So the time to do it is now, when the plan is created and it's perfect and we've looked at it, we've worked everything out, and we think, now I just have to wait until the first task is underway to get started. Yeah, when you're thinking that, it's time to also think, should I save it as a template? And I say yes, save it as a template. It doesn't hurt, and man, it can really help. So here's what we do. When the plan is perfect, we do head to the File tab, and we head into Save As. We'll pick our location, but down at the bottom, choose Template. We'll give it a good, meaningful name. So pick a name that clearly describes what it is, what it does for you, and save. Now, because we're saving it as a template, Project asks us, hey, this is a template. Do you want the baseline in your template, or do you want to remove it? Pick the things you want to remove. Yeah, get the baseline out. I'll record a new baseline when I build the next plan. What about actuals? No, get those out too. I don't need the actuals from the old plan saved. Right. What about the resource rates? Maybe, but maybe not. It depends on your environment. If resource rates change frequently, then you might want to pull them out. But if they're fairly fixed, I would leave them in. Same thing with fixed costs. If they're fixed costs, might as well leave them in. All right, and then whether the tasks have been published to the project web app. So if you are working with the web app, you might want it to forget that some tasks may have been published. If you're not using it, then it doesn't matter. Pick it or don't pick it, won't matter. All right, I choose Save, and my file is saved as a template. Look at the name, MPT. So this is now a template. I'm going to close the template, and the way that I go in to create a brand new file based on that template. So I've opened up Project. Now I'm ready to use that template. What do? Up to the File tab, and I can use Open. If I navigate to my template, you can see it's here as a recent project, or if I need to navigate to go find it, when I pick it as a template, it opens up, and you'll notice it's not the template. No, if I hit Save, it's not going to just save over the template, it's giving me the Save As. So it sees this as a new file. So in that case, if I chose to save it, and I gave it a name of training manual dash whatever this training manual is all about, let's say it's on Excel, I save it, and it's been saved. So now I've got my new training manual. It's set to go. This is awesome. All the tasks are in, the durations are in, my resources are in, my resource assignments are there, but oh, my start and finish dates, well, they're going to be off. I'm going to need to go in, check out the previous lessons, and set the project start date. I'll also need to go in and record my baseline. But once I do those two things, I just sit back and wait for the first task to get underway. So always, always, when you build any plan, after you've built it and you're looking at it going, it's perfect. All I have to do is wait for the first task to get underway. that's the time to think, maybe I should save it as a template. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. When you find yourself in the spot of managing multiple project plans at the same time, it can be a challenge. Got to open a plan, work in it, save it, close it. Open the next plan, work in it, save it, and close it. That can be challenging, but also we may be asked for information across multiple plans. Yeah, what is the total amount of dollars you're managing? What is the total duration of all your plans? I don't know. I'll have to go look that up. Well, what we can do is we can create a master project and pull multiple plans into a master project and have that information in one place to manage it. Now, when we create a master project, what we'll want to do is turn on the project summary task. So if I do that, I'll head up. This is just a regular blank old plan. I haven't done anything to it yet. I'm going to go out to the Format tab and turn on my project summary task. I'll save the plan and just save it. I could call it master, like master manuals or master training manuals. It's a master plan. You don't have to use the word master in it, but sometimes it's helpful to know that it is a master plan. Let me stretch the Gantt out to the side a little bit so we can see our other columns. And now what I need to do is bring in the other projects. I head up to the Project tab, and all the way to the left, I can insert a sub-project. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 10. Do as many as you need. So now all I need to do is pick the files. Like I say, pick them one at a time, pick them all at once. But if I choose a couple of files with a link to them, when I insert them in, they pop in. And if I expand them, you can see right now it shows me my total duration, 49.9 days. I can expand them. I can see the actual project. The tasks are listed in here. I could work the plan in here. Mark task completed, make adjustments. Yes, this is one plan. And if I expand the other plan, this is the other plan. So I can see the individual plans, total durations, but once I expand both of them, the summary task updates. It says, all right, now I see. You've got 2 plans in here. So yeah, bring them in, expand them. And then you've got the roll up. So it looks like my earliest start date, May 15th. My latest finish date is 7/25. So when I'm asked my total duration, I have it, 51.4 days over 2 projects. Earliest start, latest finish. And this again is just in the entry table. If I went into the cost tables and all the other tables, again, it would roll up and show me totals across the multiple plans. So not only can you bring them in here, you have that roll up information. I can work them in here. If I go into any plan and I mark a task complete, when I save, the save will go back to the individual plan. Let me save. Do I want to save my changes to the manual Excel? Yes, I do. And that change is pushed back to the individual file. If there are changes in the individual file, it's linked back to here. So it's one-stop shopping. I kind of like that. I can manage multiple projects in one place. If down the road I have another plan that I'd like to add in, pick the next blank row. It likes it if you collapse them. So collapse them, close them up. Next blank row, project tab, sub-project, find the plan, and insert it. Make sure we choose link. Pops in, and again, notice we're not changing here, but when I expand, if there are updates, it will update the project summary row, and I'll have a total, May 1st through 7/25. Total. So they're all listed here. They are linked as sub-projects. There's the indicator to let you know. Let me save. And I'm saving the connection. And again, I have the ability to make changes in any one or all of the plans, and the changes will go back out to those individually linked plans. This is a nice way to manage those multiple projects, I gotta say. And if the time comes that you're done with a project, maybe this one finished up, it goes May 1st to June 24th. When I'm done with it, select the row, press the delete key on the keyboard. It warns me. Scary warning, right? Well, if you choose to delete it, you are not deleting it from all existence. You're just deleting it from this master plan. It will still exist. All right, so I say okay. All right, and I say yes, and it's gone. But remember, it still exists. I can always bring it in if I choose to bring it in. It's still here. I only deleted it from this plan. So consider this as a way to manage your multiple projects in one place and be able to see the roll-up in one place. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. From time to time, you work on a plan with somebody else who doesn't have project on their computer. So we may need to export information out into another format. If I send them my project plan, they can't open it because they don't have project. But if I export the information into a format that makes them happy, that works too. So let me flip over into my cost table. In my cost table, this might be helpful to someone. So they may have asked for this information, and I'd like to export it out, but they don't have Excel. What do I do? Well, when I go into the File tab, I can choose a couple of things. Of course, saving it out as a PDF is always an option. So if they just need to look at it, save it as a PDF, and they can open it with the free Adobe Reader. That is always an option. But if they say, well, I kind of need to manipulate the data, I would love it in Excel. And that way the numbers come out and I can change numbers and I can play with it. We can do that. Now, when we do that, we use the Save As. We pick our Save As location and the Save As type. This is where it's hiding. Down here you can see we've got choices. What do they need it as? They've asked for Excel. So I choose Excel. I give it a name. All right, and I'm going to customize the name just a little bit because it's the cost data. And I save. Wizard pops up. The wizard is going to help us get them what they need. So it welcomes us in. The wizard automatically maps the fields in project to the appropriate export format, allows you to verify or edit the results. Let's see what this is all about. So when I click next, it does ask me now, what is the format of the data that I'd like to export? It was the selected data. It was the data that I was viewing. So I'll click next. It asks about the map. Create a new map or use an existing map. Well, what the mapping does is it really just takes the fields in project that we choose and places them into Excel. It names them. The mapping is the naming. So if it's called task name in project, what do we want to call it when it goes into Excel? Task name or something different? So that's what the mapping is all about. There are existing maps that are already created, and they can be pretty handy because if I'd like to get the cost information out, you can see that there is an existing map. I didn't create any of these. All right, there is an existing map called Cost Data by Task. So maybe we should look at that. I pick it and click Next. It does ask me if I want to send out tasks, resources, assignments, any one or all three of them. I'll keep it simple, just tasks. And yes, definitely include the headers. Could you imagine if we got all sorts of cost data, column after column after column, with no headers? Oh, that would be tough to navigate. So include the headers, and that way we know what column is displaying which data. All right, we also have the option to include assignment rows in the outputs. Since we're not working with assignments, no need to include the assignments. So we'll pick Next. Now this is the actual mapping page. If we had gone in and we said we wanted to create a new map, this would come up empty and allow us to choose the columns from project and what we wanted to put them in as in Excel. All right, but here it's showing us with the map that we chose, this is what project is going to give us. I'll pick out ID and active and task mode and name and fixed cost, and I'll send them out to Excel and I'll call them ID and active and task mode. There's a bunch, so if I scroll, there's a bunch. Do I need all of them? Maybe, but maybe not. If I don't need them, I can select a row, delete it. Select a row, delete it. Maybe this one too. Delete it. If you have other things that you'd like to add in, of course, you've got the insert row option, or you can just move down to the next available blank row and pick. Bottom of the window gives me a preview of what I'm looking at. So ID and task name and cost and baseline cost and so on. I can scroll out to the right and see them all. Looks good. So I'll click Next. I do get the congratulations page. Woohoo, we made it. And it gives me the option to save the map. If this is an export that I'm going to be doing on a regular basis, I would save the map because I did go in and customize it. I deleted a few columns that I didn't want. So like I said, if it's going to be done once a week, once a month, I might as well save it. And that way the next time I want it, it'll be in the list and I can pick it. So I might just leave the name mostly the same, but put that word customized at the end. Or maybe the boss name that it's for, or the other project manager, or whoever I share this with, maybe put their initials at the end so I know this is the report for them. But give it a good, meaningful name for you. I click Save. I click Finish. And wait, where? Huh? Right? No, it doesn't pop up and show us. We have to go get it. So I told it to save it to my Documents folder. So let me head down into my File Manager, into my Documents, and I named it Training Manual Cost Data. There it is. Give it a double click. It's going to open up, and many times it needs some cleanup. So don't be surprised by what you see in here. May need a little bit of cleanup. Column adjustments, numbers coming in as text instead of numbers. It does usually require some cleanup. But with a few minutes of work in Excel, we can clean it up and send it on the way. Keep in mind that this copy, it's an export to Excel. The formulas don't come out. No formulas, just the values. And there is no link, no connection to the project plan. So if numbers change in project, this isn't going to update. If numbers change here, it's not going to update project. This is an export. It is a snapshot in time of that information. But it is a way that we can get the information out in another format so we can share it with people who don't have project. I hope you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.